Good morning, everyone. May I request all the students first to be seated behind, all the faculties, if you can guide them. We hope that everybody has been comfortable in the chair now. I'll request all the faculty members also to be seated. Can we also make sure that our mobiles are on silent mode, please? Requesting everyone to have their mobiles on silent mode. Thank you. So with everyone's permission, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. This is a quote which is attributed to many authors, with the true source actually unknown. Nevertheless, it is a very wise reminder to us that our present impacts our tomorrow. What we choose to do today will impact how we will be in the future. On this note, let us choose this particular movement to further dwell deeper into our own selves, our own conscious. I request everyone to kindly join their hands and chant Om 3 times with us. Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya. May we be delivered from darkness to light. May I request our principal, Dr. Professor Anand Achari sir, to invite and usher our honorable dignitaries to kindly grace the occasion by lighting the auspicious lamp. I request Professor Abhay Purohit sir, Professor Vidyadhar Phatak sir, Professor Raju Mishra sir, Shri Suresh Malkani sir, Prakash Lula sir, Professor Akhtar Chauhan sir, Professor Vijay Sohani sir, and Professor Milind Kolegal sir. If you can join us for the auspicious lighting of the lamp, please. While the lamp has been lit to dispel the darkness and light knowledge within, let's involve and invoke Goddess Saraswati's blessings by listening to a melodious recital by our students, led on the sitar by Miss Jivika, our third-year student.
Ya kunde तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुर्साक्षात्
I now request Architect Samruddhi Phalak, Madam, Associate Professor, VESCOA, to kindly usher our dignitaries to grace the dais. Professor Abhay Purohit, sir, if you can join us on the dais, please. May I request Professor Abhay Purohit, sir, to join us and grace the dais, please. Sir. Professor Vidyadhar Phatak, sir. Professor Raju Mishra, sir. Shri Suresh Milkani, sir. Shri Prakash Lula, sir. Shri Madhav Devbhakta, sir. Sir, if you can. Thank you, sir. I would further request Architect Samruddhi Phalak to usher our dignitaries from the first row of the dais. Akhtar, sir. Professor Akhtar Chauhan, sir. Professor Anil Nagraj, sir. Professor Harshad Bhatia, sir. And Dr. Professor Anand Achari, sir. Shri Rajesh Gihani sir, Secretary VS, could not join us due to urgent professional obligations. He has sent his best wishes to all of us. I would like to thank Architect Samruddhi Falak and Ms. Jivika and her team. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Taking the proceedings ahead, good morning once again and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries, the guests, faculty members, staff and my beloved students. On behalf of our VES Trust, the management, our VESCO governing body and our honorable principal, I take this opportunity to welcome you all at this august gathering today for the second Shri Hashu Advani ji Memorial Lecture. Myself, Architect Mandar Duri, Professor VESCO, shall be your co-host for this felicitatory segment. And now we shall move ahead to a brief introduction of our honorable dignitaries and guests. Allow me to introduce the dignitaries on our dais. We are honored to have with us as chief guest for the second Hashu Advani Memorial event for today, Professor Architect Abhay Purohit sir, President, Council of Architecture, India. We welcome you, sir. Our guest of honor and keynote speaker, Professor Vidyadhar Phatak sir, former head, Planning Division, the MMRDA, and Dean Faculty of Planning, Center for Environment and Planning Technology, University, Ahmedabad. We welcome you, sir. Our guest of honor special, Professor Raju Mishra sir, Architect and Urban Planner, Principal, Sir JJ College of Architecture, Mumbai. Our honorable trustees, Shri Suresh Malkani ji, President VES and Managing Trustee VESCO. Dr. Shri Prakash Lula ji, Treasurer VES, Member VESCO. Our VESCO governing body members, Professor Madhav Devbhakta sir, Architect Ekistician, Ex-President IIA, Member VESCO. Professor Akhtar Chauhan sir, Architect, Urban Planner, Member VESCO. Professor Anil Nagraj sir, Architect, Ekistician, Member VESCO. Dr. Professor Anand Achari sir, Principal VESCO. And Professor Harshad Bhatia sir, Architect, Urban Designer, Professor, Design Chair, VESCO and Member VESCO. Allow me to introduce our dignitaries seated in the audience as well. Please join hands with a big round of applause also for our special invitees for the second Hashu Advani ji Memorial Lecture today. Professor Vijay Sohani, Ex-President, Council of Architecture, India, and Director at IDEA, Nashik. Our special invitee, Professor Milind Koligal sir, Director, MRK College of Architecture, Hyderabad. We welcome you, sir. Our VESCO governing body member, Professor Meera Devbhakta, Madam, Architect, Ekistician, Member, VESCO governing body. It gives me great pleasure also to extend our warm welcome to all the respected directors, the principals, deans and HODs from our VES campus as well as from other architecture institutions across our city who have graced this occasion with their presence. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. We are really, really in gratitude for your presence. Thanks a lot. Moving ahead, I would request the Felicitation team volunteers to get ready. May I request Sri Suresh Malkani ji to felicitate our dignitaries. Our chief guest, Professor Abhay Purohit sir. May I now request Shri Suresh Malkani ji to felicitate our guest of honor and keynote speaker, Professor Vidyadhar Phatak sir. May I request Shri Suresh Malkani sir to felicitate our guest of honor, Professor Rajiv Mishra sir. Our guest of honor, Principal Professor Raju Mishra sir. Now may I request Shri Suresh Malkani ji to felicitate Professor Madhav Devbhakta sir. Taking it ahead, I would request Lula sir to felicitate Akhtar Chaun sir. Further, I request Lula sir to felicitate Professor Vijay Sohni sir. I request Vijay Sohni sir to be gracing the dais. I would further request Shri Prakash Lula ji to felicitate Professor Milind Koligal sir. I'll request to grace the dais sir. May I request Prakash Lula sir to felicitate Sri Anil Nagraj sir. May I request Dr. Prakash Lula sir to felicitate Professor Mira Devbhakta madam. Mira Devbhakta madam. Now I would request Dr. Professor Anand Achari sir to felicitate our dignitaries. Shri Suresh Malkani sir. I further request Dr. Professor Anand Achari sir to felicitate Dr. Shri Prakash Lulla ji. Now may I request Professor Madhav Devbhakta sir to felicitate Dr. Professor Anand Achari ji. I would once again request Professor Anand Achari sir I would request our faculty members, Architect Samruddhi Phalak, to felicitate our various directors, principals, deans, HODs seated in the first few rows. Please, we welcome one and all. Principal Vinit Mirkar, IAS. Shri Shekhar Bagulji, IIA Navi Mumbai. Architect Urmila Rajadhyaksha, HOD for Masters of Landscape, VESCOA. Meera Madam. Principal Harish Shetty, Lokmanya Tilak Institute, College of Architecture. Architect Mustan Shri Dalvi, Professor Sir JJ College of Architecture. Professor Smita Dalvi Madam, Pillais College of Architecture. Chairman Board of Studies. Architect Neela Duvti, Professor Lokmanya Tilak College of Architecture. Architect Anuprita Surve Madam, CTA's College of Architecture, Chembur. Architect Magdum Sir, Hire College of Architecture. Architect Paresh Kapadia, ex-II Chairman, Professor at Hire College of Architecture. Sir has come at a very opportune moment. We welcome Dholakia sir, IIA Mumbai chapter. If you can. Architect Suchita Sayaji Madam from Pillais College of Architecture, SOC. We welcome you all, Madam. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We warmly welcome you all, and this round of applause is an expression of our deepest gratitude once again. Thank you. Thank you. As we all know, our VES, Vivekanand Education Society, is founded and steered upon the guiding principles from the great Indian saint, Shri Vivekanand ji, and our founder, Shri Hashu Advani ji. Today, we are all gathered here to mark and pay our respects to the memory of Shri Hashu Advani ji, along with this memorial lecture series started since the last year, which is 2023. Hashu sir has been a constant source of inspiration to all of us, not only at VES, but across the city. Hashuji's philosophy has motivated and inspired many souls to find their sense of purpose and meaning in life. Today, we have with us Dr. Shri Prakash Lulaji, whom I request and invite here to share his experience and thoughts with us, allowing us to seek deeper insights into the philosophies of Shri Hashu Advani ji. Sir.
स्टेज पर बैठे हुए सभी गणमान्य अतिथि, यहाँ ऑडिटोरियम में बैठे हुए विभिन्न संस्थाओं से आए हुए हेड्स एंड डायरेक्टर्स एंड इंस्टीट्यूट्स के अपने अपने लीडर्स, वहाँ पीछे बैठे हुए स्टूडेंट्स, बीच में फैकल्टी मेंबर्स भी बैठे हुए हैं, प्रोग्राम को ऑर्गेनाइज करने वाले आप सभी होस्ट, आप सभी की टीम, प्रिंसिपल साहब, प्रेसिडेंट मलकानी जी, सभी अवर टीचर्स, मैं आप सबका विवेकानंद एजुकेशन सोसाइटी के तरफ से आप सबका मैं बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ. एंड कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस सर फॉर हैविंग सच अ ग्रेट इवेंट. Today is the second Hashu Advani मेमोरियल लेक्चर. इतने बड़े कार्यक्रम में, इतने बड़े व्यक्ति के नाम पर रखा हुआ कार्यक्रम, इतने अच्छे अच्छे लोगों के बीच में मुझे कार्यक्रम को शुरुआत करने की बहुत बड़ी जवाबदारी सर ने दे दी है. एंड द पॉइंट हेयर इज़ कि मैं आर्किटेक्ट नहीं हूँ, मैं डॉक्टर हूँ. आई एम अ होम्योपैथिक फिजिशियन. तो एक बड़ी जवाबदारी सर आपने मेरे ऊपर डाल दी है. हशु जी, मुझे बताया गया है कि हशु जी का परिचय ऐसा एक मुझे आपके सामने रखना है. तो मैंने हशु जी के, सर ने मुझे बताया कि आप हशु जी के साथ में काम कर चुके हैं. आपने बताया, मेरा उनके साथ में साथ इतना ही था कि मैं विवेकानंद एजुकेशन सोसाइटी में पढ़ता था. आई वॉज अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिंदी मीडियम स्कूल ऑफ स्वामी विवेकानंद इन सिंधी सोसाइटी. और वहाँ पर हशु जी कभी कभी ना उनका वाइट शर्ट और ब्लैक पैंट होती थी, वो पहन के अक्सर वहाँ पे वो राउंड लेने के लिए आते थे. तो हम देखते थे, तभी हमें पता नहीं था कि वो कौन है. वी वर द स्टूडेंट्स, सो वी नेवर न्यू कि ही इज़ द एक्चुअली फाउंडर एंड ही इज़ द the main trustee of the institution. Very quietly he will come and take the round of the institute along with the head of the institute, that was our उपाध्याय सर. सर जानते होंगे, तो उपाध्याय सर और वो मिलकर एक राउंड लेते थे और फिर चले जाते थे. इतना मुझे मालूम था. फिर जब मैंने अपनी प्रैक्टिस स्टार्ट करी 1995 में, तो एक दिन मालूम पड़ा कि आज जो है पूरा चेंबूर बंद रहेगा. मैंने पूछा भाई क्यों बंद रहेगा, तो मालूम पड़ा कि एक चेंबूर के बहुत बड़े लीडर का देहांत हो गया है और वो उनको आज जो है उनका अभी अग्नि को समर्पित करने वाले हैं. इसके लिए आउट ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट, नॉट आउट ऑफ एनी फोर्स, पूरा चेंबूर बंद था. सो उनका वो एक उस प्रकार की एक रही छवि समाज में. उसके बाद में ईश्वर के संयोग से मैं इस संस्था से जुड़ा और फिर पिछले 15 सालों से संस्था से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और आज संस्था में ट्रेजरर के नाते जवाबदारी है. तो इनके बारे में कई बार पढ़ने का मौका मिला है, कई बार इनके साथ में काम कर चुके लोगों के साथ में बैठने का मौका मिला है. तो कई बातें उनकी हमें मालूम पड़ी हैं जो मैं आपके सामने थोड़ा शेयर कर सकता हूँ. अगर मलकानी सर मुझे गाइड करेंगे बीच बीच में कहीं मैं गलत हो रहा हूँगा तो, क्योंकि एक्चुअली ये इनका था जो इन्होंने मेरे को हैंड ओवर किया। तो 1952 में हशू जी बॉम्बे आए थे। बॉम्बे आए थे क्योंकि उस समय पर इंडिया का, जो उस समय का था इंडिया, जिसको आज हम बोलते हैं अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया, उसका विभाजन हुआ था। तो विभाजन होने के साथ में जो सिंध प्रांत था वो पूरा वहाँ चला गया था, और वहाँ से सिंधी समाज जो है, जो हम बोल सकते हैं कि भाई हिंदू सिंधी समाज जो है वहाँ से माइग्रेट हुआ था टू इंडिया की तरफ आया था। तो वहाँ पर आसरानी सर बताते थे मेरे को, आसरानी सर हमारी संस्था के प्रेसिडेंट थे, कि हशू जी वॉज द प्रचारक ऑफ आरएसएस एंड एट दैट टाइम ऑल्सो। तो उन्होंने अपने ऊपर एक जवाबदारी ली थी कि भाई जितने भी लोग वहाँ से माइग्रेट हो रहे हैं टू इंडिया, घर अपना वहाँ छोड़ के आ रहे हैं, तो उनका जो सामान है वो सामान सुरक्षित इंडिया तक पहुँचना चाहिए, और जब तक ऐसा होता नहीं तब तक मैं पाकिस्तान से नहीं आऊँगा बाहर इंडिया में। ये उन्होंने वहाँ पे प्रण लिया था, और वो उन्होंने काफ़ी बड़ी हद तक वो उन्होंने उसको निभाया था। तो ही वॉज कमिंग फ्रॉम अ वेरी गुड फैमिली। उनके जो मम्मी थे, उनके पापा थे और उनके ब्रदर्स थे, दे वर ऑलरेडी वेरी वेल सेटल्ड इन द स्पेन। तो उन्होंने उनसे कहा कि भी आप स्पेन आ जाइए, अभी यहाँ पर इतना माहौल ख़राब हो गया था, इट वॉज़ वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट टू लिव एज अ विस्थापित। एक शरणार्थी के नाते आपने अपनी जगह छोड़ के दूसरी प्रांत में जाके रहना है, इट इज़ नॉट दैट ईजी। सो द फैमिली गेव हिम ऑप्शन कि आप जो हैं आ जाइए स्पेन में। वहाँ पर उनका बहुत अच्छा काम था, पर वो उन्होंने वो एग्री नहीं किया। ही सेड कि आई हैव टू बी डिवोटेड टू माई सोसाइटी एंड माई पीपल। सो ही केम आफ्टर ही ensured that all of them have reached safely to India along with their सामान। उसके बाद फिर उन्होंने यहाँ पर आए, यहाँ बॉम्बे में। यहाँ आने के बाद में फॉर फ्यू डेज ही वॉज स्टेइंग इन अ हॉस्टल एट बॉम्बे में हॉस्टल में रहते थे विथ सम अदर गुड फ्रेंड्स ऑफ हिम। वन ऑफ देम वॉज मिस्टर झमटमल वाधवानी साहब, हरि आत्माराम जी उनके साथ में रहे। और उन्होंने वहाँ पर ऐसा देखा कि भाई अगर हमें सिंधी समाज को या समाज को इन जनरल ऊपर लाना है तो वी हैव टू फोकस ऑन द एजुकेशन। तो एजुकेशन के ऊपर उनका विशेष महत्व रहा, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा कि भाई अगर वापस से इनको अपने पाँव पे खड़ा होना है तो एजुकेशन अच्छी देनी पड़ेगी। तो फिर उन्होंने जो है किसी कारणवश चेंबूर में आए, और चेंबूर में आए तो फिर चेंबूर के ही होके रह गए। कम्प्लीटली ही वॉज डिवोटेड टू चेंबूर, बिकॉज चेंबूर में मैक्सिमम कॉन्सेंट्रेशन थी सिंधी विस्थापित घरों के यहाँ पर। तो फिर देन गवर्नमेंट वाज वेरी काइंड इनफ टू अलॉट देम बैरक्स। जो वहाँ से आई थी फैमिलीज, उनको बैरक्स गवर्नमेंट ने दी थी रहने के लिए। बैरक्स का फिर अपना एक टाइम ड्यूरेशन था, उसके बाद में द बैरक्स स्टार्टेड कोलैप्सिंग, बिकॉज अभी आप सभी आर्किटेक्ट्स हैं, यू विल नो बेटर। उन्होंने शॉर्टकट में बैरक्स बनी थी उस समय पर, तो थोड़े समय के लिए ओके थी, लेकिन आगे और नहीं चल सकती थी। तो फिर गवर्नमेंट ने नई स्कीम निकाली कि हम आपको नया घर बना के देते हैं, बैरक के अगेंस्ट बैरक देते हैं, लेकिन उसका जो है आपको एक पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट पे करना पड़ेगा। ऑफ कोर्स एवरीथिंग विल कॉस्ट। तो बट दीज वर शरणार्थीज, इनके पास में तो पैसा था नहीं टू पे टू द गवर्नमेंट। तो अभी गवर्नमेंट और जो लोग रहवासी थे उनके बीच में ब्रिज बन के हशू जी ने EMI की स्कीम निकाली। उन दिनों में EMI की स्कीम निकाली, और वो EMI की स्कीम जो है गवर्नमेंट को भी भाई और जनता को भी भाई, और ऐसी भाई कि भाई लोगों ने एग्री किया टू मूव फ्रॉम ओल्ड बैरक्स टू न्यू बैरक्स एंड पे टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो, बट इन द इंस्टॉलमेंट दिस। इतने ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हुए अपने इस काम की वजह से कि ही बिकेम द कॉरपोरेटर ऑफ BMC। एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम in BMC there were only 2 corporators from a place called from a party called जन संघ। तो जन संघ के 2 ही कॉरपोरेटर थे इतनी बड़ी BMC में, उनमें से एक हशू जी थे। एंड हशू जी का रिकॉर्ड था दैट ही हैड वन दिस कॉरपोरेशन का इलेक्शन विद द हाईएस्ट वोट्स इन एंटायर मुंबई। तो इस प्रकार की उनकी एक जनता में इतना उनका एक स्वीकार्य था, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज डेडिकेशन, because of his sincerity and because of his total selfless kind of approach। जितने उन्होंने वो क्या बोलते हैं बीज लगाए, उनमें से एक बीज विवेकानंद है। विवेकानंद एक बड़ा वृक्ष बना। 262 बच्चे थे, परमानंद स्कूल करके था सिंधी सोसाइटी में। वो मैनेजमेंट उस समय उसको चला नहीं पा रही थी, उस समय की मैनेजमेंट। तो उन्होंने हशू जी को अप्रोच किया, तो हशू जी ने कहा मैं टेक ओवर कर लेता हूँ, और उनको उनका एक अच्छा एक गेटवे दिया टू गो आउट ऑफ दैट ट्रस्ट पर्टिकुलरली, एंड देन फिर आज वो विवेकानंद बना, एंड आज जो यहाँ 25,000 बच्चे पढ़ते हैं। ऐसा विवेकानंद एक बना, ऐसा सनातन धर्म है, ऐसे गोवंडी एजुकेशन सोसाइटी है। लेकिन इन सबको शुरुआत करने के पीछे जो उनका not comfortable in their married life, and they want to get rid of the problems, so they approach Shri Chetana. Shri Chetana has got some legal aid which is free of cost to help such ladies. तो वो भी समाज के उस हिस्से को भी उनको ध्यान में था। फिर उन्होंने एक नारीशाला की स्थापना की, भाई जो माताएं जिनके पति अगर गुजर जाते हैं कभी, तो हाउ विल दे सपोर्ट देयर फैमिलीज इन केस इफ दे आर नॉट हैविंग एनी जॉब्स। तो वो हमारे स्कूल में बच्चों का यूनिफॉर्म बनाती थी और उनसे उनका घर भी चलता था। तो बच्चों को स्कूल में यूनिफॉर्म तो चाहिए, तो यूनिफॉर्म बाहर से नहीं खरीदो, स्कूल में से ही खरीदो। और स्कूल में फिर कौन बनाएगा? नारीशाला की हमारी जो एक्टिविटी थी वो बनाएगी। सो ही यूज्ड टू हैव डिफरेंट, आई मीन ही यूज्ड टू लुक इनटू एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन बीइंग। फिर आकार नाम का एक अच्छा हेल्थ केयर जिम, कोई बच्चे जाते हैं आकार में, आकार नाम का जिम है यहाँ बहुत अच्छा, उसमें उन्होंने वो स्थापित किया। फिर योगा केंद्र स्थापित किया। ऐसे बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे सामाजिक प्रकल्प उन्होंने स्थापित किए। इसकी वजह से देन ही वन द इलेक्शंस, कॉरपोरेटर की इलेक्शन एक बार दो बार, देन ही वाज गिवन द टिकट फॉर बिकमिंग एमएलए। फिर वो एमएलए भी बने, और एमएलए भी फिर वो जितनी बार भी खड़े हुए इलेक्शन में, वो इलेक्शन में जीतते गए। वाई? बिकॉज ऑफ द रीज़न दैट ही वॉज वेरी वेरी सॉफ्ट स्पोकन एंड वेरी वेरी हम्बल एंड डाउन टू अर्थ पर्सनैलिटी। वो जितनी बार भी सार्वजनिक जीवन में इलेक्शंस में खड़े हुए, कभी इलेक्शन में हारे नहीं। यस, या इन 1978 में ही जॉइंड द मिनिस्ट्री अंडर द लीडरशिप ऑफ श्री शरद पवार साहब। तभी शरद पवार साहब बने थे चीफ मिनिस्टर, एंड हशु अडवाणी साहब फर्स्ट टाइम ही बिकेम द अर्बन प्लानिंग मिनिस्टर। तो ये जो आपका विषय है आज का, इट इज़ इंडियन अर्बनाइजेशन। तो उस समय जब वो बने मिनिस्टर, अर्बन डेवलपमेंट मिनिस्टर बने, तो उन्होंने आपके जो एफएसआई के रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन होते हैं उसमें बदलाव लाए, और ऐसे बदलाव लाए कि जो शिक्षण संस्थान हैं, अस्पतालें हैं या हॉस्टल्स हैं, उनको ज़्यादा एफएसआई मिले। और वो आज तक आई थिंक दैट बेनिफिट इज़ बीइंग गिवन टू द इंस्टीट्यूट्स। देन ही ऑल्सो, व्हाट आई रेड समवेयर इज दैट ही ऑल्सो हैड दिस प्लानिंग ऑफ बीकेसी। जो बीकेसी आया वहाँ से यहाँ पर बैंड्रा में, वो भी उनका एक था, उनका एक प्रयोजन। फिर ये जो ईस्टर्न एक्सप्रेस, ईस्टर्न फ्रीवे जो पीछे बना है वो, या जो ये रोड्स बने, इनमें सब में आप सभी का भी सहयोग डेफिनेटली रहा होगा। पर सर का उस समय का एक विजन था। फाइनली देन सर एमएलए बने 2 बार, फिर बाद में ही बिकेम द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर इन द ईयर 1995। एंड 1995 में अनफॉर्चुनेटली उन्होंने फिर जो मेरा विषय है उस पर वो उनका ध्यान कम होता था, एंड दैट इज़ हेल्थ पे थोड़ा ध्यान सर का कम, बिकॉज ही वॉज सो परिश्रमी, ही वॉज सो डेडिकेटेड दैट ही वुड नॉट पे एनी अटेंशन टू हिज ओन हेल्थ। समाज की हेल्थ का पूरा ध्यान रखते थे, लेकिन अपनी हेल्थ का ध्यान नहीं रखा। छोटी एज में, लगभग 70s में सर, आई थिंक ही मेट विद किडनी फेलियर उनको हुआ था। ही वॉज डायबिटिक ऑल्सो, और फिर इसकी वजह से फिर वो जो है चले गए हमारे बीच में से। लेकिन जो काम उन्होंने किया अपने जीवन में, जितना उन्होंने काम किया, वो ऐसा काम है मेरे ख्याल से सदियों तक याद रहेगा लोगों को। और उनकी जो दूसरी एक विशेष क्वालिटी जो मुझे मालूम पड़ी थी, कि जो विरोधी होते हैं उनके, वो भी उनको उतना ही सत्कार करते थे। आज की तारीख में अपने ही लोग आपको सत्कार करें तो भी बड़ी बात है, इनके केस में इनके विरोधी भी इनको सत्कार करते थे बहुत, और उनको बहुत मानते थे। तो इस प्रकार का उनका एक जो लाइफ था एकदम सिंपल था, बहुत इजी, उन्होंने अपना क्लियर दृष्टिकोण था, और जितना हो सका अपने जीवन को उन्होंने समाज को समर्पित किया। वो कहीं हिंदी, आई एम फ्रॉम हिंदी मीडियम सर, तो एक बार उन्होंने, एक टीचर बता रहे थे कि जो मोती होते हैं ना, वो समुद्र में मिलते हैं। एम आई राइट? मोती समुद्र में मिलते हैं, बट बोलते हैं कुछ मोती देवताओं के हाथ में ऊपर भी होते हैं। उनमें से एक आध कोई गिर गया तो वो हशु अडवाणी हो जाते हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
आपका धन्यवाद सर, दुल्ला सर जी. I'll request Principal Sri Raju Mishra ji to share your thoughts with us.
Respected Chief Guest, Professor Abhay Purohit, President Council of Architecture, respected Professor Madhav Bhakta, Shri Malkani ji, Shri Lula ji, आदरणीय पाठक सर, जिनको सुनने के लिए हम आज यहाँ हैं, अख्तर चौहान सर, नागराज सर, हर्षद भाटिया एंड आनंद आचार्य. सारी बातें तो लूला जी ने बहुत बढ़िया तरीके से बताई, बट आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड 2 more things about Hashu ji. Hashu ji, why, you should know why it is called collector's colony. He was the one to be after the collector to give land to the refugees, and therefore it is collector's colony. Okay, and therefore every development that he did in this area, which was full of refugees, was for community development. So he was more forcing himself, involving community to do community development. And all the reforms and policies that he promoted was acceptable by all political parties because he was a great guide. He was also finance minister. Yes. Even at that time, chief minister was Manohar Joshi, whose son is an architect, also would consult Hashu ji. Though Hashu ji spoke very less, he was very, very effective, not efficient, effective. Because I think the difference between a person who has grown a community to become what is now Vivekanand Education Society was a visionary, and we are extremely fortunate. I would like you to know this, that Hashu Advani Memorial Lecture is given by none other than an eminent architect and planner, Shri Vidyadhar Phatak, who knows all this because he was involved as planning chief of MMRDA. His office is in BKC. He knows the whole program of BKC, and I think he will enjoy telling you everything about it. The book talks about FSI, but I think in a different way in terms of planner's dream and vision. And I think we are indeed extremely fortunate to have Phatak ji, who is considered one of the very wise persons in the planning profession of India. Everybody consults him. Every young planner's dream is to meet Phatak sir. And many planning organizations, before they start anywhere to come up in India, have taken help of Phatak sir. I would just like to end up with one question, sir, one answer regarding Bombay Town Planning Act. The 1915 Bombay Town Planning Act started from the city of Bombay. And the first Town Planning Act gave various town planning laws. The first Regional Town Planning Act of Maharashtra 1966 was enacted in India. But what is wonderful about Bombay is that it does not have a planning school where planning started. But we have eminent planners. Bombay is perhaps the city where maximum experiments of urban development have been carried out in the laboratory of urban science. And I think most of the experiments were successful because of the guidance of Shri Phatak. I am indeed very happy that Vivekanand Education Society, under the leadership of eminent teachers with the team of Anand Acharya, is moving towards the right direction. I was involved in the earlier times when the school was getting established. Some schools only grow old, but I think the school has also grown up. And I think that is a very, very big thing for the school. Thank you very much. Phatak sir, I will be leaving now. I'll miss your lecture, but I think you can have it on YouTube. Yeah, live stream it. Please see to it that you make the most of his talk, because I'm sure many members of the Institute of Town Planners India refer to Phatak sir as almost God, not God. Yeah? And we always take his encouragement, we always take his advice for anything that has to be important coming. Politicians don't listen to anybody. But when it comes to Pathak sir, they listen to him. Yeah? So I think we must listen to him very carefully. So thank you very much for inviting me, VS, and looking forward to a wonderful lecture by Professor Pathak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking us on this beautiful journey of getting to know a little better our founder's vision and principles and philosophies. It shall be always our guiding light in our way forward. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Prakash Lulaji, and thank you, Professor Raju Mishra, sir. Thanks a lot. Now, taking the proceedings ahead, may I request all the dignitaries to take the seat here. I'll request Architect Samruddhi Phalak, madam, to usher the guests to the chairs. May I request the volunteer team to address the chairs on the dais. Can we have the student volunteers, please? We can keep the chairs in the aisles. Thank you everyone for bearing this little requirement of space. So I'm sure there are many students here who haven't heard about our founder, Shri Hashu Advani ji, and the two gentlemen who gave you an insight will definitely be an inspiration. It is said that institutions or great institutions are built on the shadow of an individual. And indeed, Hashu Advani sir has always been an inspiration along with the philosophies of Shri Vivekanand ji. We have several books in the library in which the students can go through these inspirational thoughts, quotes, and also the works and understand their philosophies so that you can make a career and you can also make your own life. So we believe in having an holistic education at Vivekanand's College of Architecture, Education Society's College of Architecture, And it is important that all of us imbibe on these principles in our way forward. So once again, thanks to all the dignitaries who graced the dais. Moving ahead, we'll now be going on to the next segment, which is going to be the presentations by our esteemed guests. I'll just take a minute. We just put the projector on, so just a minute we'll... Sir, please. Can we dim these lights in the front? I'll request the students to settle down. Keep your notepads with you. Is it okay? Working, right? Yeah. So take us ahead. I would like to invite our co-host and the master of ceremony as well, who shall take us further into the next segment. Ekistics, the science of human settlements. In fact, the science and study of human settlements, which shall be followed by the keynote address and the address by our guest of honor and chief guest. With a round of applause, allow me to introduce to us and welcome Professor Hashu Advani, Professor Design Chair, VESCO, Architect, Urban Designer, and member of the governing body at VESCO. Hashu Advani, as Sir fondly wants to remind me time and again, that it is Be Human, HB. He's a skilled urban designer and also an architect. Ekistics, Ekistics intellectual and writer, editor based in Mumbai. He is a 1981 graduate, gold medalist from the Sir J.J. College of Architecture, University of Mumbai, then University of Bombay. And a 1984 postgraduate, gold medalist again from the School of Planning and Architecture, Navi Delhi. His firm was established in 1986 and has dealt with a wide range of projects. From 2007, he became a hired brain, a solo practitioner, currently also professor and design chair with us at Vivekanand Education Society's College of Architecture. He is the board member at the governing body and a visiting teacher as well to other educational institutes. Dear sir, I request you to join us and kindly take the proceedings ahead. Please welcome Professor Hashu Advani. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mandar sir, for that splendid introduction. I have to live up to that. Little closer. Am I audible? Is the acoustics good? Ekistics, okay. How do I operate? Right. Where do I? No, I have to go. The perils of technology. What I intend to do is I will run through the presentation quite fast, but where I feel that I need to really convey something to you, I will pause and I will take time over there. Otherwise, it may become a bit boring and we may go over time. We are already over time. So I won't read out everything, but Ekistics is basically the founder is Konstantinos Doxiadis, and it comes with a Greek word, oikos, from which you understand habitat, home, shelter, etc. The first two slides are just giving you a background to the origin of Ekistics and the way it has been really now available for us through these 4 volumes you see below. Book 1, 2, 3, and 4. Moment you go through these 4 books, you get a total idea about the subject. The important thing about this is the words in red color. It's not just development, it's about human development. So the purpose of Ekistics is to look at the science and study of not just settlements, but human settlements. And that is what differentiates this from any of the other disciplines which we are aware of. So it's not something which is competing, neither is it in isolation. It is a discipline which makes you start thinking about human development. If you see the 9 key people from different disciplines in the second, third paragraph, the whole idea about Ekistics is that it's not confined to one discipline only, it's transdisciplinary. I'll run through the basic aspects. One is the elements. There are 5 elements of Ekistics: nature, man, non-gendered, we call it anthropos, society, shells, and networks. Why nature and man are in red color is because without man you would not have the other 3. So society, shells, and networks are because of man. Man is a part of nature also, but man is also trying to survive nature. The goal of Ekistics is to balance these 5. And when we apply this in the urban situation, the goal is to be in equilibrium. So it's a symbiosis between man, settlements, and nature. The units and scale of Ekistics are very clear. It's a very objective way to really appraise the subject. When you apply it, the elements, then you have the population scale and the community space scale. Imagine if you were the only human on planet Earth. You would not have society. Your shells would be different. And you probably would have network with the other fauna. So there is this understanding that one human is also a scale. So the first scale is an individual as a settlement by himself or herself. And the largest scale is the ecumenopolis, which is the scale of the population of the planet. So there is a world without borders at the other extreme. So it looks at these variations of scale from 1 to the total population on planet Earth. Then we have the territorial scale. The territorial space scale is actually divisible and multiple by 7. He has applied Christoller's theory, where there are 7 hexagons. So if you multiply 0.58, 3 by 7, you go from 4 multiplied by 7, you get 28. So he applies this as a territorial scale to understand the scale required for the entire planet population. This is very important for us architects to understand. The discipline to community scale impact. As architects, as artists, we can actually go up to the dwelling at the group level impact. As architects, we can go at the most up to a small town, not even a small town, a neighborhood. But as planners, your impact is much greater. So the planning discipline covers more people, it's collective. If you want to cover the entire earth, then you need to be a political scientist. Now, this is what I have drawn considering the type of disciplinary, this thing we take further after our masters or even before doing architecture. So you see from anthropos, single individual, furniture design, product design, interior design, up to physical planning at the other extreme. And this is a scale. So the impact of interior design will be up to your human scale to group human scale, architecture up to mass human scale, and planning will impact superhuman scale in terms of people, number of people. So what I have done is, when I teach urban design, this is my opening slide. We have to respect that all the disciplines have a role to play in the making of man's environment. So as an architect, if I apply scale, then the first row is human, mass human, superhuman. I apply different criteria. For example, if I look at the criteria of focus, which is in the center there. At architectural level, you try to give value to the project. At the planning level, you are looking at it quantitatively because you're looking at numbers over here. At the urban design level, you're looking at the qualitative aspects. So it's limiting in a lot of ways, and it's difficult to be objective over there. So each of these gives you the differentiation, and there are going to be overlaps. So to introduce urban design, this becomes my first session when I start the course. There are 4 futures which we have considered in Ekistics. The white one at the bottom is the constant future. Everything in nature is constant. It remains, it does not change. Then you have the continuing past, declining past, and then you have the creative future. These I can explain to you later once you join my class. Can you hit the hyperlink? Yeah. I want to show you some examples we have started doing at VESCOA. You may see them up there in the display in the exhibition on the 7th floor. Let me just run through fast. Work in progress, okay? So what you're seeing over there is still incomplete. First is take a photograph and then just observe the 5 elements over there. And you start writing about everything in the photograph in terms of the 5 elements. The basic thing. Start thinking. The whole idea about Ekistics is to start making you think. The second exercise which I've done is the human lifespan. If you look at the 5 different aspects which we try to cover is gender, sensory perception according to the gender, according to the age which you see on the left is the age group, behavioral traits according to the age, physical ability, ergonomics, etc. So how you understand the growth of the human through his entire lifespan. Moment you understand this as architects, you don't have to worry about designing differently for the differently abled. I think I went out. Yeah. Now this is the grade which I have given to the students, saying that why don't you put down your findings as per this. Go to the exhibition and what you can see here is yeah, this is an example. I'll just go over there because the mic is also the same. The example is that you have the different lifespan stages. Pregnancy to old age, which is 80 plus. What each student does is he takes one of these. So this is school age. He gives me the sensory perception understanding over here. He gives me the ergonomic this thing for activities. How much time that age group spends in the house in each room, that is given here. And the distance covered according to fixed time, or the time is flexible and the distance is fixed. You give me both for male and female. They write down the behavioral traits over here, and then they put a photograph of that age group over there. Moment you understand this, if you're designing residential for any client, you will understand that it's not only a particular age group. All of these will be there. So when you go to the exhibition, study the entire, you can say right from pregnancy to old age. And you will realize that up to infant, you need support. You're already disabled when you're born. So if you design for that ability to be missing, then you're taking care of universal design. These are examples. You can see now the early old age. When I put them all together, I get 6 different groups doing this exercise according to the number of students. I guess it's all probably giving you more time to really look into it. Now this is left to your imagination. The other exercise is much more interesting, and it's something which we did. We did 2 teachers training workshops, one in 2019 December at Vivekanand Education Society's College of Architecture, and the other one we just did recently, couple of months back. And they were for the teachers. And I'm sure the teachers who attended that actually have started thinking differently already. And it's percolating into the students' work also now. Over here, we believe in learning by doing. So you will see models also being displayed over there. Deployable structures, tensegrity. Ekistics is a subject which makes you pause. It makes you pause just the way you're doing now. Start thinking about that exercise. How would it help us? The earlier exercise of the human lifespan. How often have we thought about the occupants of the house in terms of the age group and what happens? We only think about the one who comes with the resources to say, I am your client, and that is the adulthood age that which we provide for. But then there is a thinking that you have to realize why. Because if you look at the age of the infant, he gets only 1 year to be an infant. After that, he goes into toddler. So you realize you spend maximum time of your life being an adult. That's why you look at that scale as a dominant one. This is what I sketched of my own home. This is a 5-minute sketch. I showed it as an example. If I could do it, can you do it if I give you 3 weeks? So this is last year's students' work done over a day, a couple of days. The first box you see is my workspace. The second one is the room space within which. So this is my shell. Here the shell is the room. Here my shell is the house. Then the shell is the apartment grouping. Then the shell is the plot. Now the moment you go from that scale to this scale, you realize your third dimension vanishes. It becomes largely two-dimensional. So you cannot question a plan saying, why aren't you thinking about the third dimension? Plan as in a physical plan. So when you realize this as an architect, you know the limitations of what you need to do at what scale. Now along with this exercise, the center one, this is the next step. You take each of those boxes, and what I do is you put your workspace and you put each one separately, and then you give me the 5 elements in this. You give me the number of persons at this scale occupying the space, give me the area, and then you work out the density. So the smaller the scale, the density is the highest. So as you go to the level of the world, the density reduces. Now, all of them put together around with the elements and the scales. This is what I see as a tapestry. There are 67 students' work over here. Each student has given me his house from workspace to ward. I've got now data over here which I can really go further into and make sense of it. When I look at this, what I see is that each one of us is an individual. Each of my students is an individual. I don't compare them, but I see what they are capable of doing through their work. And that is how you should start looking at your assessments also. The other example is, what I have done is I have taken it further. If you remember, there are some boxes removed over there. This is the exercise which I do. This is not the students' work. The students have given me the base. As a teacher, I get into this with my Ekistics thinking. And what I've done is I've taken only the workspace squares. So even every scale, I realize that each one of us comes with a different situation and a different background. So each of this is a human settlement. Each individual. So at the scale of human settlements, this is what happens. There are instances where we have come across situations where students are working from the bed. You cannot make them put a desk over there because that is their own space. When you realize that when they do their housing projects, they have to be bringing in the furniture. So we realize that, okay, if we are aware about what they are exposed to, they will be doing better work. This is just showing you the thing. So as an example, if I put these and the 5 elements over here. So at this scale, I will talk about nature as a tulsi plant. I will go to the species of the plant. I will not just say plant. I will talk of soil required for it to be planted in. I will talk about water required to be given to it. So these are elements of nature at this scale, workspace. If I go to this thing, it's male teenage student, then you go to the household rules. My family says I cannot eat on my desk. So that becomes society. If I go to shelves, the chair and desk are my shelves. Shell doesn't mean something which is enclosing, but giving me comfort to perform the activity. Likewise, I go to networks, so I get Wi-Fi, electrical, audio. As you come to this scale, tulsi, soil, water, they vanish. Soil becomes earth. You understand? So your thinking changes according to the application of what you see and study in Ekistics. And on the right side, we write the population area so we can work out that if you're going to compare one scale as a case study with another, you may make a mistake because you're looking at maybe the room space and then trying to apply that to the level of the planet. So this is constantly evolving. And this is like the syllabus that I would do if I were to do a course in Ekistics. So we would cover all this in that. These are some of the programs which we have already done through Ekistics from 1995 to 2024, where I was involved. And there have been many done by Professor Devbhakt and Meera Devbhakt before 1995. They've attended the original ones with Doxiadis' team. This is a GIF created just to show you animation. But if you read the sentence below, a man praying at a shrine under tree, situated under tree growth at the corner of Buruj of a historic fort, edged today by a busy vehicular road turn intensely used by man of various body types, ages and gender, with family, maximizing contact, minimizing conflict under the sun. So the purpose of Ekistics is to maximize contacts with minimum effort. And that is what we aim to do by learning about how each individual is really looking at his own life. Thank you. I know I've gone overboard, but I hope it has been meaningful for you, and partly because of the technological pause. Whatever questions, answers you all will have, we will have after the last speaker. Okay? So I now request Principal Dr. Anand Achari to introduce our keynote speaker.
Good afternoon all. Namaskar to everyone. It's a privilege of VESCOA and to each and every attendee here to hear Vidyadhar Phatak. Not much introduction to give as what Rajiv Mishra sir gave him, but still we need to know him better. I'll just try to describe him, what he did in his past academic and public service life. Shri Vidyadhar Phatak has devoted 57 years of urban planning through public service, consulting and academia. He played pivotal role at Mumbai Metropolitan Region Planning Board, SIDCO, MMRDA, notably leading the World Bank funded Bombay Urban Development Project and crafting the Regional Plan 1996-2011. He influenced national urban policies, serving on the Planning Commission Task Force and the National Commission on Urbanization. As an independent consultant since 2004, he has collaborated with the World Bank and firms across India and Bangladesh. From 2016 to 2019, he served as Dean at CEPT University, Ahmedabad, restructuring program to meet contemporary needs. His extensive writing culminated in the 2024 publication, Planning for India's Urbanization, published by CEPT University. Urban practitioner Vidyadhar Phatak offers an insightful material in this book for comprehending the primary urban management concerns in rapidly evolving urban India. In his thoughtful, provoking book, Planning for India's Urbanization, having worked in Mumbai Metropolitan Area Planning as an operational staff member for his whole career, his esteemed book offers an comparative benefits of deeper insights. The book discusses land, housing, urban difficulties in the post-liberalization age, planning standards and housing supply, and demand while consistently drawing connection between the effects of regulatory planning methods on markets. The planning of a metropolis, urban housing, the importance of land in development planning and finance, and urbanization and its problem are the four primary issues addressed in this book. Sir, throughout his career, has received recognition for his achievements, including many awards and honors that acknowledges his outstanding contribution to architecture and planning. His legacy continues to inspire the next generation of architects and urban planners, making him a pivotal figure in the evolution of architecture disclosure and practice in India. We at VESCO are very happy to have you here, and I look forward for this presentation. Please do join hands to welcome Sir.
I begin by paying respect to all the dignitaries who were here on the dais, and also by making two disclaimers. Whatever Rajiv Mishra told you about me, you take it with a fistful of salt. Not pinch of salt, but fistful of salt. I will begin by recalling two memories. One is about late Hashu Advani, because I joined MMRDA in 1976 and he became the chairman of MMRDA in 1978 because the Minister of Urban Development is supposed to be the chairman of MMRDA as well. Of course, I was too junior and never had a personal interaction with him. But as the chairman of MMRDA, I could see him the way in which he conducted those meetings with calm and composure. Because in those days, MMRDA was almost like a mini assembly, almost 50 members, and used to be a big gathering. And to control such a crowd as a chairman was a big task which he did very skillfully. I also remember the way in which he used to be dressed, because now it's almost 50 years to recall things, it's rather difficult. And he never wore what is today considered as the uniform of politicians. He was always in a half-sleeve shirt and trousers, not even a jacket. And therefore today I decided not to wear any jacket. The second memory is about Doxiadis. Architecture. I never called myself as an architect. So today I want to discuss about India's urbanization, more like a urbanization process and the way in which spatial planning could deal with such a process. Let us start by looking at the perspectives that we had about the urbanization. Now, this is a quote from a US president. What he said was, cities are pestilential to the morals, health, and the liberties of man. When we get piled up one upon another in large cities, as in Europe, we shall become as corrupt as in Europe. This was the US president. This is a rather long quote of one of our leading political figures, but it indicates the disdain with which he looked at cities. And this had a major impact in terms of how we looked at urbanization evolved, particularly after independence as well. I won't read that. I will leave it to you to read. There was only one voice, but a rather lone voice of politicians of that time, which considered that industrialization is the best means of weaning surplus agricultural labor into employment outside agriculture, thus taking pressure off the land. This is a very significant statement he made. Urbanism, modernism, and industrialization is the way forward for India. But this was, of course, only a lone voice which never had a big political traction. Immediately after independence, when we had our first 5-year plan, that plan looked at cities more like a problem of housing in cities and not as a problem of urbanization as a process. And it says Hatas in Kanpur and Bastis in Kolkata are national disgrace. Slums have grown up in industrial cities as a result of laxity in enforcing building regulations. So this was seen more like a law and order problem, how to solve slums. Planning in the early stages was guided by way of axioms and not by evidence. And the axioms were generally urbanization is undesirable because Gandhiji had said India lives in villages. If urbanization is inevitable, primate cities or metropolitan cities are undesirable. New towns around them should be planned. Sprawl must be prevented, green belts must be introduced around cities, and promote small and medium towns, promote industrial dispersal to restrain migration to cities. These were the axioms which prevailed for quite some time. Ebenezer Howard's garden cities had a big influence on the thinking, and it was very popular amongst architects. I don't know whether this is even today taught, but when I was in college, it was very much prominently told to students. Probably, as people are nodding their heads, probably it is still being taught. And one should look at it as a very romantic idea that what he said was there are towns which have problems and plus points as well. Countryside or villages similarly have pros and cons, and we might create a new settlement which might combine the advantages of both and delete the disadvantages of both. This reflected in the London Master Plan of 1944, where Greenbelt was put around London and some 8 new towns were proposed around London. This became very popular, and many cities in India also tried to replicate this. Even the Mumbai regional plan had a large so-called green zone around Mumbai, and today in the green zone you have Vasai Virar municipal area. So that is the fate of green belts in this. So apart from at the regional scale, this axiom-based planning prevailed even at the city scale. If metropolitan cities are inevitable, then the inner cities should be decongested because they are the problems in terms of industry, mixed land uses, etc., etc. Cities should be organized as self-contained neighborhoods, and stringent density and FSI controls should be used to limit population. These were again very dominant axioms which guided the so-called master plans or development plans in cities. Christopher Alexander in early 60s wrote an article. His book of pattern language is more popular, but I think this is another piece which he wrote, a short one, and which is significant. What he said was that city is not a tree, and these two diagrams I won't describe in detail, The first one is a tree, whereas the second one, as he called, is a semi-lattice. And cities are more like semi-lattice and not as trees. And then he points out that many cities have been planned like assuming that cities are like a tree, including Brasilia, Chandigarh, and many more. And he says they have all turned out to be artificial cities because they were conceived as trees. The FSI and density rules have also belied the expectations. This is a graph of Mumbai's FSI on the x-axis and the density on y-axis, and this is a what one calls scatter diagram. So you get many combinations of density and FSI. So there is no close, tight relationship between FSI and densities that prevail. Now, the evidence has always been contrary to these perceptions, which were carried, which carried a strong influence on the thinking about cities. The per capita GDP in United States in 1880 was $3,380, where urbanization was only 28%. In 2006, the per capita GDP increased to $37,000 per capita, and urbanization increased to 81%. So that's this relationship between economic growth and urbanization. So we always wanted economic growth, but we never wanted urbanization. That's the policy with which we have lived so far. This graph shows the correlation between the GDP per capita and the level of urbanization. So as you go ahead, now Indian GDP per capita, according to the last economic survey, is only $2,580 per capita. So we were very close to that 0 point, because this is 0 to 10,000, and we are below 40 in terms of urbanization. So when we talk of rapid economic growth, as is very popular currently, if we move on that scale, then we will have to also move very rapidly in terms of urbanization, and then what kind of planning one can do in that stage. This is done at the official exchange rate, but there is also another way of measuring, and that is called PPP, purchasing power parity. So even if you draw the similar graph with purchasing power parity, you get the similar kind of correlation between the urbanization and the per capita GDP. So why does it happen? There are two explanations. One is the economy of scale, and this was prevalent particularly when manufacturing activity was a major cause of urbanization. Large factories had the advantage of a large scale of operation and therefore more employment, etc., etc., like textile mills in Mumbai. But it also has the economy of agglomeration. That is, not one thing is very big, but there is an agglomeration of many other things. Now that gives many advantages in terms of specialization of services, in terms of opportunities for interaction, which create the place for incubation of innovations, startups, etc., etc. So this is a major cause for a close relationship between urbanization and economic growth. So it is not a one-way traffic. Economy growth leads to urbanization, and urbanization in turn helps economic growth. This is a map which shows production per square meter of US. And then you see the obvious peaks in New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, etc., etc. If one were to draw similar kind of graph for India, it will similarly come out. Now, on this background, comparison of China and India could be very illuminating. In 1980, India's per capita GDP was $1165, much higher than China's, which was only $774. Corresponding urbanization of India was 23% and China's was only 10%. This is the story of 1980. And in 2006, India's per capita GDP was only $3,300, but that of China had grown to $6,600. The corresponding urbanization levels of India and China were 29% and 41% respectively. So this is again that if you have rapid economic growth, you have to also confront very rapid urban growth. And how to manage that is a big challenge. There is a recent study which had worldwide had classified cities as struggling, emerging, thriving, and stabilizing. And most of Indian cities were considered to be emerging. Now the meaning of emerging is that the population growth rate is lower than the economic growth rate. So fortunately, the economy of cities is growing at a rate faster than the growth of population. So this is the plus point of India's urbanization on which we need to work. Now, is this what is true of nations? Is it true of the Indian states as well? Yes. This is a relationship between the Indian states in terms of per capita GDP and urbanization levels in 2011. So here you find Bihar, Assam, Odisha have lower per capita GDP and also lower levels of urbanization. Whereas Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, they have higher per capita GDP and also higher levels of urbanization. The early memories of distressed migration due to droughts and other extreme rural poverty created an image that cities in India are concentration of poverty. And it was customary to assess poverty based on consumption expenditure. But now it has been practiced to measure poverty not by rupee income or expenditure, but by three dimensions, that is health, education, and standard of living. According to these three dimensions, which were subdivided into many different parameters, this is the statewide levels of poverty. So at the top end, the red bar shows the high poverty, and as expected, it is Bihar which tops, Bihar, Jharkhand, etc. And it goes down, which is also shown in that map. Red is the poorest, and the green, which is at the southern end, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and also Punjab and Haryana, are the least poor nations. Now, this is also, in a way, matches with the levels of urbanization, that the more urban states have less of poverty, and the states which have are low incomes and low urbanization also have higher poverty. This map shows more clearly, the top map is of rural India, where there is a lot of prevalence of poverty. But in the urban areas, even in otherwise poorer states, the urban areas have lower levels of poverty. So during 80s, it was being realized that there is a close relationship between urbanization and economic growth. And if we want economic growth, then urbanization is inevitable and must be seen as a positive aspect of economic growth. In 1983, Planning Commission had appointed 4 task forces to look at urbanization, and they, for the first time, tried to emphasize this relationship between economic growth and urbanization. And in 1988, the National Commission on Urbanization, under the chairmanship of Charles Correa, also re-emphasized those aspects of urbanization. Strangely, however, they did not really have big impact on the way in which things happened. And in 1991, of course, India adopted the economic liberalization, which changed the context in terms of what the previous task forces and commissions were arguing. Finally, the 12th five-year plan, prepared in 2012, recognized these aspects, and it said that urbanization will be central to India's strategy of achieving faster and more inclusive growth, because agglomeration and densification of economic activities in urban conglomerations stimulates economic efficiencies and provides more opportunities for earning livelihoods. But to put it in so many words, as a part of the five-year plan, it took us that long, almost 60 years to arrive at that thing. But this was, of course, the last five-year plan that we had. And now, of course, the current government is also paying a lot of attention. In the last budget, they had identified 9 priorities in terms of how to address India's growth. And the 5th priority is assigned for urban development. Though 5th, it is at least finding place in the national planning process. The official estimation of population and urbanization till 2036 indicates that in 2036 India's total population would be 1518 million, of which 600 million will be urban, that is less than 40%. Corresponding estimates for Maharashtra are 136 million total population, out of which 71 million, that is 52%, will be urban. Of course, the growth rate of population is expected to come down quite sharply in case of both the total and the rural. But urban will continue to be at about 1.5% per annum, and in case of Maharashtra, it will be lower, 1% per annum. So as the economy improves, the population growth will also come down drastically. So this is a perspective which is more assuring in terms of what could be done with our cities, that the population growth itself will not be a big problem as we go ahead. Now, if urbanization and cities are so beneficial and the picture is so rosy in terms of economy, does it mean that there are no problems in cities? No, that is not the case. There are problems in the cities, but what we should realize is that the cities themselves are not a problem. So the disease is the problem, patient is not a problem. Don't shoot the patient, treat the malice that the patient suffers. So these are obvious problems: congestion and pollution, inadequate water supply, inadequate waste disposal, lack of recreational open spaces, inadequacy of education, health, and other social infrastructure, lack of affordable housing, vulnerability to disasters and flooding. Pune experienced it in last 2 days. And these are all the problems that are in cities. This one is the most important one, which shows the failure of FSI regulations. This is Bandra East, which had one FSI, and people constructed, I don't know, one can't even calculate what the FSI would be. The question then comes that is this very unique to India in terms of having such problems? That is not the case. This is the situation in the 18th century industrial cities in UK. And you can read that probably. Overcrowding, poor sanitation, spread of diseases and pollution are the problems of these cities. But I think they managed to target the problems more effectively and not kill the cities themselves. And now if you look at the English cities, they are far better than what they used to be in the late 18th century. The top paragraph is the description of a river in England. Not the Mithi River or some other Nala in Mumbai, but it's the river in UK. But what they did particularly, and this is quite important, there was a physician called John Snow, and he at that time, when vaccination, germs, etc. were not known, he found that cholera is caused by contaminated water, and therefore did a lot of work in terms of introducing safe sanitation practices, and that he did during 1813 to 1858. Today in London there is a museum named after him which shows what he did. So I think this is what is important. I mean, people who work on sanitation, water supply, they are to be honored and recognized, and that is what we have to still do in the 21st century, which we have overlooked. So the challenge is to address the problem without jeopardizing the economic advantages of urbanization and cities. So, by now you must have been quite bored about my talking about economy and urbanization. So I will tell you a story of planning's Panchatantra. There was a 2-kilometer long beach in a small town, and the king visited the beach, and he said, look, this beach is there, so many people are coming, but there are no ice cream vendors. So he called his planner and said, you select 2 locations where 2 ice cream vendors could be permitted. So he selected these 2 locations, that is 500 meters from both the ends, and the planner thought this is a socially optimal solution, SOS, that nobody will have to walk more than 500 meters to reach an ice cream vendor. Very balanced plan which is there. But what happened? The ice cream vendors were smarter than the planner, and which is usually the case. That fellow moved towards the center, thinking that everybody on the other side is a captive customer. And by moving here, he increases the captive customers, but also has an opportunity to steal somebody from the other fellow's customers. But the other fellow is not dumb, so he also moves there. And slowly what happens is that they come at the middle of the beach. Now, the economists call this as a Nash equilibrium. But the story does not end here. The story has 2 possibilities. One is that now the competition for space is over. They are at the same location. So the competition begins in the different sphere. One fellow says that both of us were selling only plain vanilla. Why don't I start selling some chocolate ice cream or something, so that there is a variety and some more people will give, I can also charge more. The other fellow says that he has started chocolate, so I will also start doing something, some strawberry or some such thing. So the product differentiation starts, which is an indication of economic growth. And their incomes also start increasing because now they are competing with each other. That is one possibility of a story. The other possibility is that the planner visits and finds that these two fellows have come again to the center of the thing, leaving their original places. So he appoints an inspector and he tells the inspector, make sure that they don't move from their designated places. Then what happens? The inspector starts getting richer. And the fellows start moving towards the middle of the beach. Now this story has many things to tell you about how cities function. In almost all cities you have a sarafa. Why all sarafas gather in one place? Or even in a city like Mumbai, you have Zaveri Bazaar, you have Abdul Rahman Street for stationery, you have Lohar Chal for electrical goods, you have Lamington Road for electronics. Why does it happen? Why do they all come together? It's because of this. And no planner had thought that Lamington Road will become electronic bazaar. So I think planners should learn not to plan too many things, because that is not how things function. The other story is also how the regulations function, because it's not a one-way affair. You make the regulations and everybody follows the regulation. All the economic literature in urban economics only predicts the price rise. Say, for example, you very tightly control the green belt. Then there are a lot of literature in LSE, London School of Economics, which evaluates the impact of green belt around London. And what they say is that the prices in the core city of London started increasing because of that strong green belt. But our people are smarter. They still find a way out. And what do they do? Because those who decide to enforce regulations have the power. And power is like a property. And if you have a property, you seek rent of the property. So with the power also you seek rent. And that rent seeking is a very fancy word which is meant for corruptions and bribes. So that rent seeking begins to happen and you get a different type of things. You get violation of green belts, you get violation of FSIs. So this is how market reacts to regulations. And nobody teaches these things in architecture and planning colleges. It's only after you have graduated and start practicing, going to BMC, you realize how the regulations work. But that's important. That is how things really happen. So what can we conclude or identify as the new paradigms for planning as compared to the old axioms of planning? To summarize, economic growth and urbanizations are mutually reinforcing phenomena. Cities are not problems, but there are problems in cities. Target the problems, but not the cities. Cities are shaped by markets, but markets have failures. Otherwise, planning will not be necessary. If markets can sort out everything. But markets do exist. That must be understood. It's not a one-way affair that you do the plan and the market will faithfully follow those plans. Markets fail to produce public goods, particularly land for public goods, like streets and parks. Markets give rise to externalities, which are both positive in the agglomeration as well as negative in terms of congestion, pollution, etc. And markets do not cater to the poor, usually. And this not catering to the poor in many times aided by planning. That is the counterintuitive impact of planning. And future is not known. The problem with that is that most planners have their original training in either engineering or architecture. Now, architectural design or engineering design essentially deals with certainty. And therefore, their products are also very certain. Whereas planners have to deal with uncertainty. Nobody knows the future. And then how to still plan during the unknown future is a bigger challenge. There is no known theory of how to do it. But I think that is again a reality which needs to be recognized. Assuming that we know is the biggest problem. And that is why many master plans assume that they know what is the 20-year future and try to freeze many things in the city, which never work. Like Mumbai's plan said that all cinema theaters in Mumbai should be treated as public purpose reservations. Now, why should cinemas be a public purpose reservation? Let the market decide whether people want to have cinemas or don't want to have cinemas. The technology is going to change. But there is a tendency that we design everything in the city, and that is a problem in the way in which plans are done. So what could be the learnings for planning in future? This is not given as a well-designed kind of formula, but more by way of learning on which one can work out in future. With increasing income, demand for per capita land and floor space is bound to increase. And this is not usually well understood. Mumbai's FSI theory, if you look at it, it almost assumes that people will continue to consume the same floor space per capita. And therefore, you freeze FSI, it will freeze the population also. So it neither froze the population, nor did it follow the frozen FSI rules. Long-term special plans should not create scarcity of development rights. It should allow that phenomenon to occur, that as increasing incomes, the demand for space will also increase. Provide for city expansion and redevelopment. Cities are bound to expand. Don't put green belts around them. They will be violated. Provide for land required for public goods. Now, this is the most critical part, that concentrate on providing lands for public goods and services. Regulations to control negative externalities. The markets do generate problems, and those need to be catered to. Plan not as prescriptive design, but as framework within which future can unfold. Now, this is a very significant way which is different from the way in which architects or engineers would carry out their design. Now, this is a diagram which is little complex, but still I'll attempt to explain. Those 4 quadrants are the 4 types of public goods and services. The top left are private goods, which the market produces and the private consumers uses those. And that is the best way in which it could operate. The market will take care of those things. The bottom right are the public goods, streets, parks, etc. Now, private market will never do that. But private market to operate also needs that. So there is a symbiotic relationship between those. The planning must concentrate on the right and bottom quadrant and not worry about so much about the left and top. To the extent it generates problems like pollution, congestion, etc., that the plan should take care of those things. Today what has happened is that the plans worry more about controlling the left and top corner. And don't worry about this. So if you see the experience of implementation of plans, not only in Maharashtra but almost everywhere else, the performance is so poor. Maharashtra once made an assessment that only 15% of the development plans were implemented. The rest of it was not. And the more concentration, once the plan is approved by the government, then everybody puts it in the shelf and start granting building permission. So that becomes the main impact of that plan. The left and bottom corner is the common natural resources. Now they need to be protected and conserved. A natural operation of private market might invade on those natural resources, because natural common resources always suffer from the so-called tragedy of commons, and they need some protection and conservation. And the left and top bracket is the natural monopoly, that is your public services, water supply, sanitation, etc., etc. And they also need to be managed and planned, not necessarily by public sector. Private sector can also come in there under certain circumstances. For example, the first metro line in Mumbai, Warsaw to Ghatkopar, was done through PPP. So it's not necessary that everything has to be done by the public sector. Telephones at one stage were considered to be a public service. Now nobody uses MTNL phones. So things also change over the period. That is why future is always evolving, and evolving faster than what at least my generation had thought of. But I think today's generation probably knows those changes quite often. I think the next generation of architectural students will not even use AutoCAD. They will say, I will ask the AI to design the things. So T-square, Z-square are gone long back. But even AutoCAD might disappear soon. A possibility. And how does a planner do these things? He has only two tools at his command. One is called eminent domain. You can acquire land for public purposes, compulsorily acquire land for public purposes. And second is police power. You can stop the nuisance. Otherwise, there is no other way in which planner has any kind of tools available with him. So, considering that planner is a very powerful person in the thing and he can change the world, etc., is not particularly true. Now, city expansion is very important, and normally the way in which planning occurs in India neglects the periphery. Particularly in Maharashtra, all master plans are done within municipal boundaries and not in the peripheral areas. The land consumption for urban purposes is influenced by two things, as we have seen. The demographic causes, the population increases, so you need more land. And also because the economy increases. China's case shows that there is an expansion at 7.5% per annum, but a lot of it caused by the economic growth and not by the population growth. That dark yellow patch is for demographic reasons, green is for the economic causes. India is growing only at 4.8% and not 7.5%. There also the demographic cause is more dominant than the economic cause, but this is likely to undergo change. So it's not that because the population may not grow so much, our demand for land will reduce. That is not the case. The land demand will also increase. In North America, almost all demand for increased land is on account of economic growth. And similarly in case of Western Europe, the demographic change accounts for only a small proportion of land growth. And that you see in case of Bangalore, the way in which Bangalore has expanded. And this is the story in many cases. I had once read very recently, but I couldn't trace that back for this presentation. Pune grew by 200% in terms of population. But in terms of land expansion, it grew by 600%. So that is the kind of spread that Indian cities are experiencing. And one should organize planning in that fashion and not overlook that the city will remain within municipal boundaries and not spill over. Some of the historical kind of things, that how cities were planned. This is the plan of New York, done in 1807, approved in 1811, but even in those days it took 4 years for sanctioning the plan. And what that plan was, the dark black area shows the then existing city of New York. That was around the lower Manhattan, Wall Street Journal, etc. areas. But they planned for a significantly large area, and essentially by way of street network and some open spaces. That was the plan. But this plan, which Mumford ridiculed as a plan done by surveyors and lawyers, but this plan had withstood 200 years and allowed the city to survive and succeed in terms of growth. There are some stories very interesting. They said that they did not acquire the land for the streets. They said, okay, you can go ahead and build the building, but don't encroach on the street land. And when they actually constructed the road, they asked the fellows to pay for that, because now the street has been built. So streets in a city are so significant that they then provide you all the space for all network infrastructure. If you today look at Maharashtra's so-called Gunthewari, which is the peripheral unauthorized development, the real problem there is of finding space for putting streets and infrastructure. Around Pune, you will get advertisements for bungalow in Gunthewari. The structures are not bad, though it's an unauthorized development. The problem is there is no room to put in infrastructure. So that is the priority in terms of how plans could be done. Similar plan of Barcelona, done in 1859. This black area here was the only city that existed at that time, but they created such a large area, again, largely by way of street network. Okay, now having said all those things, this is the book, if you are interested in the way in which the future planning, which is done where you accept that there are going to be private property rights, and there will be a market in private property rights, and these markets will shape the cities, then what kind of planning could meaningfully be done? Then this is the book to go to. Mr. Alan Berthoff, who is an architect, but moved away from architecture and did a lot of work in land markets and the way in which planning could be done. He has written this book in 2018. He also wrote the foreword to my book, so that's an incidental thing, but that is what he did. I want to show two pictures from his book at the end. This is the picture of Corbusier's plan for Paris CBD. And then he comments on that. The project, fortunately never implemented, is typical of design approach to planning. And he says that this is a way which planners or architects conceive, that design as substituting the market. And it never worked. And then he says that this had no impact in Northern America and Western Europe. But similar kind of things were done in USSR and China, because there was no market in land, and they could do this kind of high-rise housing projects in those two countries. Then he shows this picture, Shanghai. And then he makes a point that this is the city which is a result of market, This is not a result of design. The market has led to this kind of development. But what went in as planning is the infrastructure planning that was done, which could sustain this kind of development. I think I'll stop at that. Thank you very much for patiently listening.
Thank you, Mr. Phatak. I think we should give him another round of applause. I have read his book. I think all of you all should also go through it. It's succinct, it's very well written, insightful, and it actually gives you a lot of insight because Mr. Phatak comes from a background of being the chief planner in an organization, and behind the scenes, a lot of the thinking that he has put over there, he's looked at the existing scenarios and then tried to look at what planning can do. And as Sir has said, I think I just used two words. Planning is nowadays done with thinking that there's a certainty. But what Mr. Phatak is saying is that there has to be flexibility. So certainty versus flexibility. And I think we need to really start looking at flexibility as the norm. Because if we just go back to 2019 and then 2020, and we were all confined at home in a lockdown, and just like the city is not a tree, the home is not just for living, we were working from home also. So I'm trying to connect this with the Ekistics angle that at every scale, at the individual to the level of the world, we really need to thinking about it. And these changes are something we need to learn from. So these lessons of COVID is not gone. Lockdown has gone. So just remember that. Thank you, Mr. Phatak, again. I would now request Principal Dr. Anandachari to introduce our chief guest for the day, Professor Abhay Purohit, President, Council of Architecture.
Thank you, Phatak sir, for that wonderful prognosis of cities. I take this another opportunity to introduce a very eminent and known from our Council of Architecture fraternity, Professor Abhay Purohit sir, President, Council of Architecture. Professor Abhay Purohit sir, who is also a principal and director of IDEAS, that is Institute of Design, Education and Architectural Studies College from Nagpur, who is now the President of Council of Architecture. He also serves as the Chairman Board of Studies from Nagpur University and has vast experience of about 30 years in the field of teaching. He intends to bring reforms in architectural education with an underlying aim to make an international competent. He is also keen on working towards empowering Indian architects to have global expertise. Former President also, it is very interesting that to introduce him as a EC member of myself as EC member, to introduce him as a former president of MASA and also the fourth MASA president to become the president of Council of Architecture. His passion extends to the forefront of contemporary architecture concerns, including sustainable urbanism, community architecture, heritage conservation, and seamless integration of technology in building environment. And he has In his current tenure, he has done major reformation and achieved many forefronts. Like just few of them I could introduce. He has introduced diploma courses in architecture, interior design, and which VESCOA has also initiated immediately, started at our college from this academic year. He has introduced scholarships for students of architecture and PG courses. He has started postgraduate entrance exam for PG students, started with new pattern of NATA exam post-lockdown by introducing first time in the world through 3D models, and also got back the old pattern tradition of aptitude through sketching. Currently working on restructuring architecture course as per the new NEP norms. He's also got reforms under getting grants for publication for Indian authors writing books. The current work which is ongoing also through council is able to implement research grants for schools of architecture and individuals. Recently, with a collaboration with Ministry of Social Welfare, creating an auditors of universal accessibility, and 2 of our faculty members got accredited as an auditor through council. Collaboration with, this is a major milestone collaboration with AICT, where all the design programs which were run under AICT, through council's approval, colleges can run in an existing colleges of architecture, and also starting Journal of Architecture. Extensive achievements, sir, in this, and we are looking forward for more to come. Please join hands in welcoming President, Council of Architecture.
Vande Mataram. All the great dignitaries who are there. I'm glad to see them. This is for the second time I'm coming for this program, and I think this is the second Hashu Advani memorial which is happening around. I was keenly listening to the Ekistics experts as such, and I was supposed to talk something about it, and I have decided that I'm going to be on a very different track now. Indeed, yes, that it is indeed a great pleasure to listen to Vidyadhar ji. And as the name stands as such, it is that uniqueness, Vidyadhar, and he actually is Vidyadhar as far as our planning and other scenarios are concerned. When I was looking at, I'm also incidentally a person who has been learned city planning to an extent, and I keep on saying that I intend to join the dots, and so whereupon I look at it as a sort of a continuous process. So it's nothing like this division or that division or that division or that division, because I believe that if you intend to deliver, then you should always have a sort of a comprehensive approach rather than the fragmentations. And planning always came as, that part of it. And whether you want to call it Ekistics goes also beyond the planning for that matter, because it starts talking about anything and everything which is going to be happening here, maybe from the nature to the cities, to the bedrooms, to the culture, to the behavioral patterns, and so on and so forth. Well, the figures which have been put up here and the graphs, they were absolutely capable of telling you the truth. And the truth is that, and that's what I was telling him, I said that we are teaching planning, that's fine. At the same point of time, it doesn't depend on us, whether it is a democratic setup or otherwise. A controlled environment, maybe like Singapore for that matter, or what happens in China. But then, is it that the democracy has to pay its price? And that's the question. So many times we keep on saying that when with democracy as such, there are the set of the elected representatives who come, and those who get elected, like me, like I'm elected president, they start assuming that the chair gives the power and the wisdom. And the wisdom could not be there in the chair. The wisdom of the chair could be that whereupon they are capable of understanding that certain things which you don't understand as such, for that purpose you have to take help of the professionals. And of course, another part which came, and he has very beautifully demonstrated, that two ice cream parlors moving from one place to another place and coming together. So there is another scenario which could happen. One ice cream parlor is capable of, owner of one ice cream parlor is capable of giving offer to another ice cream parlor saying that, what is it which you are earning? And he says, I am earning 1,000 rupees a day. So he says that my offer stands and I take over your ice cream parlor and I would start paying you 1,200 rupees. And maybe at that point of time, that is how today's world is actually moving. Because you are talking about the startups, making it as such, and somebody else would come and take it up. Is it capitalism in progress? I don't know. Does it give a freedom to others to actually look at and say that, oh, so I'm capable of doing something else, and maybe so I hand it over to someone else? Harshadji somewhere mentioned about pandemic and what has happened at that. I think, have we understood the lessons given by the pandemic in the truest sense? And if that is so as such, then all the theories up till now which we have learned about planning, we may have to rewrite them, modify them. This, I call it as a disruptive technologies, and that is bound to change the entire world into a different fashion. Gone are the days of the Industrial Revolution. Gone are the days whereupon you have the labor-intense things happening around. Now you are talking about a very, very boutique sort of the industries coming into, and whereupon a lot of work would be done with a very, very small, minor machine happening around. I keep on talking with the students of architecture, and there are a lot of them sitting there, and they are all worried as to what is happening around, and so many of the graphs and the curves, and these guys are talking about, I understand. But whatever little I have understood about the scenario, and that has been, Vidyadhar also has mentioned it, that we are going to see an unprecedented urbanization in another 30 years. Whatever predictions you look at and whatever is happening around in the economic progression and the promises which our population explosion has created, would see to it that the construction industry is going to be actually now starting to grow. And whatever has happened up till now as such is only a tip of iceberg, believe me. And it's not about the political inclination which I am talking about. I am talking about India has to grow. There is no option left. Highest population, well-educated people to a certain degree, world across, except for Africa and part of Asia. And that means that those who are the US you talk about and Europe you talk about, whereupon the money has been presently focused, they are going to have an irreversible sort of a return of a population growth. Elder generation, meaning thereby the younger has to be serving them. And we know, we have a tradition that the youngs would come and take care of the elder ones. And that is what we are going to do for the entire world. And that is where the question which comes is as saying that India has to be a greatest service provider in days to come, because we have been perceived and found out to be the best suitable people around. And that is the responsibility which is going to come to the young generation. Now, while doing this, now where does the Ekistics come into the picture? While doing this, there has to have a very, very sensible approach to do this. And these are the challenges which you have to be capable of, catering to. So far, so good. But I would like to draw your attention to something which is more interesting than this. In the days to come, you will find out that people would keep on changing their profession from one profession to another profession. That has already started. And architecture is the most suitable sort of a professional training which you are receiving, for a simple reason that it is multidisciplinary. So you are capable of understanding small parts from almost all the fields. Please check on what are you learning, and then you will realize. Each one, 52 of them by the way, each one of them has a capacity to make you a professional only in that area. Now we know that, and he has mentioned about AI, and we know that AI is going to be, into the all walks of life. And that essentially means that everyone would be capable of understanding other profession in a much better fashion with the help of AI. At some point of time, someone feels that, oh yeah, it seems that actually I could become a programmer. And that architects have done. I mean, I have a database available with me. Not only today it is happening around, please believe me, out of 15 persons who graduated with me, 6 are into softwares. From that point, look at that. Diversified. And they say that architecture actually has helped them in comprehensively understanding it. That's what they say. I have the bankers. I have the guys who are doing for international corporations who are actually finding out the properties across the world as such only. It's not about architecture at all. Economics of land. And they are capable of identifying that which area is actually going to grow faster and where that growth is. No, this has not been taught to them. With the teachers, we have not taught it to them. What all we have done is that we have developed a sort of a thinking capabilities to comprehensively look at the things, and that is the advantage of the program of architecture. This is going to be much more actually complex again when we talk about a national education policy on the backdrop of disruptive technologies. And you would find out that the path which has to be taken by the individual would be decided by the individual. Till the final year, maybe student would be at that point of time deciding that, okay, these are the credits which I have accumulated, now I intend to do this. Figure it out, what I want to do. Today also, I keep on discussing with the institutions, and they keep on telling me with pride as such that they have now actually training and placement sort of a department working. And they say that we have done the placements. And I keep on asking that, okay, you have done the placements fantastically well as such. Well, I'm not going to ask about what is a package which has been given to students, because which I'm sure about. I said, in which areas have they been employed? Where have they been selected? Core architecture, there's a big no. Don't worry, I'm going to explain and you would understand what I'm saying. I'm happy that now you're no more sleeping. That's good. Now, so where is it? It is in UI UX. Did I train them? No, I didn't. Why are they selecting? The firms which are having, the companies, the corporates which are having this UI UX as a part of it as such, why are they selecting architects? We have not trained them. They find this training very, very suitable for the virtual space which needs to be understood in UX. So technology could be understood. The thinking patterns is something which has to be put up. That training which has been given to you to look at the things and understand there where you are. What are the other companies which are placing you? They are the software companies which are hiring the architects. all the data available. Then you have, of course, the houses which are actually having the construction industry. They would have the architects basically to explain their product in the better fashion. Mind you, not designing. I'm not going to name those corporate houses actually, but I know that, proudly they would put up architect working in XYZ. And they are the Indian business houses also as well, getting very fat salaries, or the packages as they call it. Salary is not a proper word. So you are getting paid with the higher salaries for doing what you are not supposed to do. So I keep on telling, and a few days back as such, I had this we have the Heiki formation now. They're saying that everything has to be, market ready. And they said, what do you mean by market ready? This is a profession whereupon we talk about basically designing. When those who want to bifurcate could bifurcate, that's perfectly fine. But those who want to continue with architecture as such, there should not be a sort of a placement which would be happening in architecture. And I'm telling this officially, and I know that this is a live streaming happening around. I'm trying to take advantage of that. So possibly this message reaches somewhere else. Architects are supposed to be employing, creating the employment, and not getting employed. It could be a byproduct. Somebody is saying there is a byproduct, it's fine. And the packages are very, very, elusive. We know what has happened in Microsoft, just maybe 2 days back. And then the type of the helplessness which comes, because you start putting me on a chair, you start paying me huge amounts, you give me a lot of allowances, and then my faculty stops working, and then one day you tell me that now you are no more needed. What would happen? As against that, as such, any profession which we are talking about would keep on getting matured with the time. So I intend to also showcase those examples whereupon architects actually are, 100 architects, 200 architects, 300 architects, 400 architects. India has that kind of a scenario whereupon this is happening around. So what is it which we are supposed to look at is what is it which is lacking behind in us, or what is something which we have to acquire from somewhere. And that is where we should be globally ready. I'm glad that in your institution, and Anand sir was, putting it up to me yesterday when we were traveling as such, and he has shown me certain films, and whereupon you had a workshop. That is one of the examples, of course, but, you are getting a sort of a very, very apt knowledge. And that is the need of the day. So it's no more going to be the syllabus which is going to govern. Syllabus is not important. The way it has been taught and the way it has been put up across to you starts becoming very, very important and relevant. I'm glad that this institution actually is doing that kind of a scenario which is required to be done. So I'm sure also increasingly there are the institutions which are understanding that it is not about teaching the subject in isolation. How much do you score in the individual subject doesn't matter at all. How are you capable of collecting, putting it together and then using it? That becomes very, very important. I was, few days back, was invited at Los Angeles for conducting a international jury of their thesis. And this is a school which I have visited. Absolutely technologically is like a fabulous school, possibly the first 5 schools in the world technologically. This is one of them. And of course, and it's been promoted by the architects. There where it starts. So a private institution promoted by the architects coming together for providing the best possible knowledge and the technology to the budding architects. So after all that was over, as such, I had been, called by the chairman. On Sunday, he opened his office for me, and that's a great thing to happen. I think American architects don't work on Sunday at all. But anyways, so that is more important, relevant. He has shown me all that as such, and then he asked me, so how do you find it? And I said, fantastic. He's talking about a school. He said, how do you compare it with the Indian scenario? That was a great question I was waiting for. And I said that we also perform fantastically well. So he said, your students perform fantastically? I said, yes, my students perform fantastically well. And I said that your fees are at least 50 times more than my fees. Please understand. So I said that if you look at my product, because they have a 3D printing machine for every student. We have the latest softwares at disposal for every student. Now, if that kind of the facilities, if I'm capable of making available to my students in India as such, my students are capable of climbing the great heights than anyone else in the world. That is our capability. Believe me, 1/50th of the cost. So I said that cost effectiveness and the dedication of the teachers. Many people keep on talking, love to talk about saying that the teachers are not doing their job. No, I tell you what. Average, there could be, in anything, there could be people who are doing this and that would happen. But on an average as such, the dedication for teachers in India is great. The limited resources and the type of the exposure which has been given is great. The aspiration of my students to actually capture the world heights is great. And that is why I do not have any kind of doubts whatsoever that we would be service providers to the world in days to come. This is what is my expectation from you. And you can also expect a lot of things from me. That is counsel. And we are, gearing up for that. As I said, we started, and he has put it up across, we have started looking at, developing our Indian material, our books, our research journals. Because teachers, they know that, in international journals, what is this, scopus, this, that, as such, you do your research, then you pay. You have done your research and then you pay for the publication. Officially, you pay for the publication, and publication cost happens to be 2 lakh rupees at least minimum. This is ridiculous. So I was discussing with my counterparts in AICT as well as UGC. I said that why isn't it possible that we at the Indian level as such set up our own standards? As it is, we have the highest population available. We set the standards, others would follow. No, I'm not denying the fact that we should have the international tie-ups, and no doubt about that. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, yes, that has to be there. Now, when we are doing that as such, but they would join hands with us then. And that is the condition which we have to bring. So we have to actually absolutely come out of that colonization का जो आपके ऊपर में जो impact है, उससे आपको बाहर निकलना ही होगा. You have to start believing in your own strengths. In fact, somewhere I proposed in a very higher level, I said that why are we talking about providing the scholarships to the students who are going to Europe and America? Why don't we provide the scholarships to the people who would be coming from Africa and the Asian countries to India to learn? To my mind, that starts making a more sense. Rather than, providing the sort of our guys would learn here, why not? Our standards need to be, considered as the best standards. And for that as such, whatever help which is required, let us take it. I'm also of the opinion, and working on it, that Indian architects is high time should start collaborating with the great foreign architectural firms. Something which we would learn, something which they would learn, but through this as such, because there are certain areas whereupon which are the gray areas. And that maybe possibly these students would have realized when they were working on maybe whatever has happened with the structural analysis model which you have conducted for 5 days. You have realized that we are capable of doing. But at the same point of time, maybe there are certain techniques which you need to learn, adopt, and go ahead. Our civilization has proven time and again. If you look at carefully the history, you would find out that we have always taken whatever is best, and we have also taken the people who have come from other lands as such as part of us. That is what the Indianness is all about. If that is so, today is the time whereupon you can also join the hand. So I want that architectural firms, and this we would come up with the Architects Act revisions which we are working out. Naturally, we are going to talk about, I'm very clear about it, that we have to get who would hold the 51%? Let's decide. So unofficially, whatever work which is happening around, somebody comes as such, does it here, comes on a tourist visa, does the work here, goes back, paid in the dollars, I don't know how. Lot of problems are there. I know that inbuilt problems are there. And so let us make it very, very official. We say that, so first thing which to my mind is that when you are talking about the professional education as such, the services of the architects need to be protected. There is no other way. Number two is that they should be given a freedom now because the type of the practice has changed. So they have to be given a freedom to actually work into various arenas of design-related fields, design and design-related fields. Needed. So they can have a partner as an engineer. So there is nothing like a line between the architects and the engineers. We have to understand that. It is interchangeable. That's what I'm talking about. Think about it. I'm just expressing myself openly, and I'm open for the criticism also and stand corrected. If something goes wrong, then let's get it corrected. They should get these opportunities basically to participate into everything. Financial bids are coming in, you cannot help it as such, but the financial bids, when they are happening around, well, the architects also should combine with some others and put it up across. And Vidyadhar ji most probably is well aware of what is happening in the planning when it comes to the private planning sort of a thing, which is now government's policy is there as such. They are not the planners who are participating into taking that planning decisions. These are the firms, these are the practices as such who are showing that they have that financial capability and stretchability, and then they get the job. And then what happens is that a planner who is only 5 years, or maybe only just fresh, postgraduate, is adopted, is a number count, tick mark. How many planners are there? 5 planners are there. Oh, 5 planners are there. Planner of what capacity? What experience? What wisdom? No, that's all gone. This is what is happening around. So you need to really, really, really counter this kind of a tendency. I'm live, I know, and that's why, there are certain other ways also by which, because I start talking about architectural practice holiday as a concept. For 1 year, the architects may not work if they are not getting the minimum fees. And see what happens. They would only work when they get the proper fees. Otherwise, they would not work. But from council side, interestingly, what I'm going to come across and soon is that whatever fees you are working for, the comprehensive architectural services need to be given. Now, if you don't give the comprehensive architectural services, a professional misconduct could be always put up on you as such, and if you are professional misconduct guilty, and I would start with the rapid courts of that matter, and let those who do not follow whatever position they are holding, their license could be terminated for at least 1 year. This is a very, very simple plan. I keep on talking about it, and I express everywhere I go, and I say that this is what is going to happen. Architecture is a great profession. Planning also is a great profession. Whatever related, the professions which are related with the built environment, all those professions are great professions, and they are the professions with the responsibility. And so if we are doing something as such, we also should be taking the responsibility of that. That becomes very important, because if I take a responsibility, then and then only my value would be there. It is a famous story of saying that concentration, what is a concentration? So it says that I would show, he said, no, it is not possible, to keep a pot filled with water on your head and walk. And the king says that I would teach you how the concentration is achieved. Said, you would teach me? I said, yeah, I would teach you. How? Said that now, he calls the servant, fill up the water, put it on this gentleman's head. I said, and call that soldier. Okay? There's a sword in hand. He said that the moment a drop drops down, check it off. And this gentleman would walk all those 3, 4, 5 kilometers without a single drop dropping down. This is why I'm telling you this is something which we have to take care of. We should be absolutely responsible about what is it which we are delivering, and should not find out the excuses for that. So if you have to improve upon your knowledge, please go ahead and do that. If you have to improve upon your skill set, please go ahead and do that. And this is not only applicable to students, this is applicable to the practicing architects as well. I think I have given enough of my sermons. Once again, I come back, Vidyadharji, I have absolutely enjoyed what you have put up. It is an eye-opener for me. And possibly, whatever I have learned, I immediately try to start adopting it. So I would be helping that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me, Anand. And all the very best to all of you. Thank you. Jai Hind. Jai Maharashtra.
Hello.
Sir.
Thank you, Professor Purohit. That was quite an enlightening and also thought-provoking sermon. No, but it actually has to do something to serve us well. I know we've not had any session for question and answers, but I want to keep this open now. I request Professor Madhav Devbhakta, Professor Akhtar Chauhan, Anil Nagrat, Professor Vijay Soni, Professor Milind Koledal, to give us a minute of your feedback from whatever we have experienced today, so that the youngsters over here can also really start thinking about it. So can you just give the mic? Sometimes what happens, we are not able to immediately respond. So one can give it a thought, but we would definitely welcome responses to the college later on also.
Well, so much has happened today that I don't know where to begin and where to end. As far as Vidyadhar Phatak's presentation is concerned, he has covered a wide range of topics relating to urbanization, and whatever he has said, it is through his experience that he has made us wiser as to what and how the urbanization should take place. And as far as Professor Purohit is concerned, as usual, he has taken us through so many things and stirred our thoughts that we should get up and start doing something which is worthwhile and something which is going to put our profession on the much stronger footing than what is today. And I wouldn't like to say anything more, but I would invite you to join me in giving a standing ovation to both these stalwarts for whatever they have said. Thank you.
I think it's very important to plan these events more critically so that we focus our energies and thoughts on the content of the event rather than the form. Because we get carried away in so many kind of customs and rituals, and I think I would make that observation. About the presentation, a lot of appreciations have been already said. So without repeating that, I would suggest that all this presentation should make us think afresh, or think a little deeper, and not forget these critical issues, because it affects the lives of so many billion people all over the world. It affects life most critically for those who are deprived of the basic necessities, and those who are concerned about the future of themselves, their families, their communities, their countries, and the world. These are very powerful tools. Planning, designing, architecture, engineering, all branches of knowledge have that power to bring about the change. And I still feel convinced that it is our role and it is our duty to bring about change for better, not only for oneself and one's own family, but for a larger whole, for the society, for the community. And this struggle is ideological, and this would continue in different forms, in different ways, at different levels. But we must get engaged. We must negotiate this change, and we must be able to put in our best effort in terms of thoughts and in terms of actions. And we should keep on improving our methods and our ways and our means to bring about this change. I think for students, it is very important to question and find one's own way. Good luck. Thank you.
Professor Kollegal, would you like to say a few words?
Before I comment anything on the speakers today, I would first of all appreciate Shri Hashu Advani's foresight about the community, and as he was so popular in this area of Chembur, and of course in establishing this Vivekanand Education Society in general and College of Architecture in particular, for the upliftment and for the betterment of the society. Secondly, after almost, I would say, 30-35 years, the sleeping planner in me has waken up, because I have also done architecture and planning, but planning was just for attaining a degree. I never practiced it or I never did it. But today, after listening Vidyadhar Phatak's lecture, I really now think that so much can be done in this thing. And of course, about the acoustics also, these things being into hardcore architectural practice, I had almost forgotten. So those things also, I was very, very enlightened with that. And of course, the talk of our President Abhay Purohit and the way he has told the students or communicated to the students that there are so many things what we can do as architects. Like today we are listening about startups in maybe last 10 years. But for an architect, the startups was there since last 50 years. A startup for an architect was a drafting table and a T-square and Z-square. That was a startup for architects. Today we are talking about these things, and we are, in many ways, we are always pioneers in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Professor Vijay Soni.
Today I'll go back a wiser man. It was a great learning experience for me, listening to Mr. Phatak. I have just one suggestion rather than a comment. This event is happening in Mumbai, and I'm sure such events may be happening in large cities. But I think the people who ought to actually listen to all this are in smaller cities, tier 2 cities. And it's not only the students of architecture, but it is the decision makers in those cities. So if with your collective might, if you could try and help organize such events at smaller places where not only the students of architecture or built environment, in whichever branch they may be, are invited, but also the people who make the decisions, the various officers of the corporations or municipal areas, and also the elected members. And if it could be held like this, maybe something can come out of it. Anyway, thank you for inviting me for this event. Once again, I'd say it's a very extremely well organized event. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Anil Nagraj.
It's been an enlightening morning, and it was right from the start, whether the introduction of Mr. Hashu Advani and what he did. I also would compliment you, Harshad, because you've demonstrated how Ekistics could actually be demonstrated to the students through practical exercises and just doesn't remain a discipline to discuss at seminars. It was also heartening to hear Professor Phatak, and all the points he has raised. He's raised more questions, and it really would make us all think much more about, because there are no solutions, but there are a lot of questions which have to be addressed. And with his talk of the failure of the development plan and the fact that whatever is done, no renter, no one right is concerned about the poor, the human element in planning. So there are a lot of things which I'll go back with. I really appreciate Professor Abhay Purohit's spirit and all the vision he has got for the students and how he wants to really reach out to the world. I think it is extremely important that we are aware of what we are and how we address it to the world. And the fact that, architecture is a profession which can lead to so many other kind of professions as well. So it was really a wonderful morning, and I enjoyed every moment of it. Compliments to Anandachari and the entire team for organizing this.
Thank you, Anil. May I request Professor Meera Madhyabhakta to address, yes, including wildlife.
Yes. Enjoyed both the presentations and the entire program. So thanks to Anand for inviting us for that. But I have something else to say. Are we looking at ourselves as Earth's inhabitants? Then we need to respect every life on Earth, be it a plant, be it a fish, be it any animal. And as of today, I am into that field much more than the architectural field. Of course, I 100% believe in Doxiadis' ideology, which talks about all the 5 elements. And if we consider all the 5 elements, one of the most important elements is the earth. And we should, as architects, as urban planners, respect that. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I request Shekhar Bagul, Chairman Maharashtra Chapter, in this Joint Secretary, in place of the Chairman today.
Yeah, after the very impressive presentation by Vidyadhar Phatak sir and a very impressive speech by Abhay Purohit sir, It's truly astonishing and knowledge-based information which we received through these presentations. And as Vijay sir said, this kind of lecture series or events should happen very rapidly or, time to time. So through Indian Institute of Architects Maharashtra chapter, we can definitely take over this as your suggestions and definitely try to conduct this kind of informative lectures and series throughout the district or throughout the centers, sub-centers of Maharashtra, so that it will reach to the core what we actually expecting. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Actually, I don't know whether you are aware, but we are live streaming. We are on YouTube. Our students are sitting in 2 of the rooms up also. I would request Nilesh Dolakia, Chairman, Brihan Mumbai Center of Indian Institute of Architects.
Hello. Thank you, Anand sir. And I thank Vivekanand College of Architecture for inviting me for this informative and second session on Hashu Advani Memorial Lecture. It was really an inspiring talk which we heard from Professor Vidyadhar Purohit, Vidyadhar sir, Phatak sir, and about the new NEP which is being given by Abhay Purohit sir, which we hope should come into practice, and we are hoping that it should come very fast. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Paresh Kapadia, former chairman and secretary of Indian Institute of Architects.
Thank you very much. First of all, I will congratulate Vivekanand Education Society for making such a wonderful awareness under the memorial lecture of Shri Hashu Advani. Very enlightening and very informative suggestions lecture given by Vidyadhar Phatak sir. Then after Abhay Purohit sir, as his bold statement about the current scenario is very informative and very inspiring to all of us, not only the students but even to the all college administrators. After listening all these things, I would like to pay a tribute to Hashu Advani sir as a non-qualified urbanizer. He had really made this precinct of Chembur and surrounding area fulfilling all the requirements of the basics of the urbanizations from those days to till today. And I will say that this is a model for everybody to learn that how an architect or qualified person can do better than this or even to equal these things. By this, really I appreciate and I thank to the trustees of VES and especially to the Anand Achari sir for inviting us. Keep going in. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request the principals or former principals of various other architectural institutions, Professor Mustansir Dalvi. We have Professor Dalvi, we have Ms. Smita Dalvi, Harish Shetty, Chairman Board of Studies, yes. Then we have Harish Shetty, Vineet Mirkar. We are so glad that the principals of other institutions are personally attended over here also. And we are also live streaming with a YouTube link to them. Thanks.
Thank you. I just would like to say that it's a great pleasure to be here and to listen to 2 very interesting and thought-provoking lectures. There is a lot to take home, and I appreciate the principal and the college for organizing this lecture. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Professor Smita Dalvi, Chairman Board of Studies.
Yes, hello everyone. I would like to begin with congratulating the college for organizing this wonderful program. We all have received a great deal of understanding and knowledge through the Hashu Advani Memorial Lecture by Mr. Phatak. That was most enlightening, and it was also a great privilege to listen to our COA President, Professor Purohit, and to understand his future vision for our profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Principal Professor Harish Shetty, would you like to say something? Do you have a question also? That's okay.
Gone are those days. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I am thankful to Anand for inviting us, and it was a good opportunity to listen to Phatak. So I have never been to any of his talks earlier, so that made me come here. Thank you so much for VESCO.
Professor Vineet Mirkar. Students, you are also there, okay?
Next.
We are all learners, by the way.
Thank you, Anand, for inviting us here. It was great listening to Phatak sir. I guess it's always, I have attended a couple of his lectures earlier also. He's always puts a different perspective to every time when he delivers. I've attended his planning, the kind of planning lectures earlier. What he's trying to put up today, the truths and how to learn from the truths, which is important. And that truths continued from our president's address also, that how we should take these truths ahead to lead the world from here onwards. And it was inspiring to our students and for us also, that his vision should be able to take us to being a leader. And what are the processes which we should follow, taking the kind of cues from the future. At the same time, what we have learned from our history is going to benefit us in this journey. So thank you very much to enlightening us.
Okay, I would like to keep the floor open for any of the faculty, anybody who has any point. Yes, Architect Mahesh Nayak.
Hello, I am associate faculty in Vivekanand College, and I am very glad that I am part of this program. I just wanted to ask one question to Phatak sir, that why he said that he is not calling himself as an architect but now urban planner or urban designer. I always feel that architect makes difference to the city planning. And what cities we have today, I feel that they are totally failing. And why we have to see Shanghai always. And I feel that if we see old cities also, it is because of architects or his masterpiece that people are attracted toward the cities. So, and even while we teach to students, we always tell that you have to forget architect within you, now you are a planner. I feel the method of inclusiveness and getting all the field together to design a city, I feel that is also a problem. And if we see a city like Chandigarh, one thought in a holistic way, or even a Frank Lloyd Broadacre city, in that kind of city, it is well planned because everything is thought holistically. And even if we go back to Roman cities, they created cities, they designed cities. But now what we are doing is like, we are doing some kind of rapu, like some kind of alterations. And is this the way we will get the solution? So my question, it's not a question, actually it's my feeling. So I always feel that architect is very important to design a city.
Mandar, there is a mic here. But you can give the mic to...
Sir, would Phatak sir would like to respond to this?
I am very happy to receive this reaction because that is what I was expecting. And I feel satisfied that I could evoke this kind of reaction. The purpose of my was to make you think about these things and react. I think after 10 years you will probably agree what I was saying was right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mahesh, and thank you, Phatak sir. Any faculty, students? Now that you all know about planning, at VESCO we are starting the Master of Architecture courses, Urban Design and Landscape Architecture. And the Council of Architecture has given this thing where they'll give you a scholarship if you appear for the postgraduate entrance test for architecture, which is going to be held on the 28th of July or the 4th of August, any one of the 2 days. You probably will be eligible for that if you're listed, if you're in the list. So I would suggest those who are interested in doing post-graduation, we are open. Feel free. Do give the exams. Yes?
I had a question for our sir, Abhay Purohit sir, but he's not here. But I would like if any of our faculty or any of our chief guests would answer my question. I'm in 4th year now, and after studying architecture for 4 years now, I have talked to many of my friends and many of my colleagues from other colleges too. But I have seen and I have felt that, as Abhay sir said, that there are many people, like 6 out of 15 of his batchmates are now into other professions and earning higher salaries than architects because they are getting paid much more than in architecture. So, like, as I am a student now, how can I be assured, or how can I assure my friends, like those who are trying to get into other fields or switching their professions, how can I motivate them, or how can I myself, like even I myself get demotivated sometimes for, like when I see people are not paid too much, like not too much, people are not paid accordingly. And also sir mentioned that there should be the fees given to the architect, which is the comprehensive fees. So what can be the solution, or what can be the thought I should get in my mind when I feel that?
Anybody would like to respond to that, Professor Soni?
Yeah. Since Abhay is not here, as a former president, I'll take up this chance to try and answer your question. First of all, as an architect, you are expected to practice architecture and not work as a draftsman or a glorified draftsman with an architect. Most of the times, the low packages that you're talking about are because architects are being paid very low salaries initially. But sooner or later, when you start and get into practice, you will make enough money. That I can assure you. Second thing that you asked about was, why is it that architects are more suitable for other jobs as well? You know, once upon a time, I happened to meet Professor Dholkia, who was the head of the IIM Ahmedabad. And he said, do you know, Mr. Soni, that our best students are actually architects? When architects join management, they are better suited. And he said, do you know why this happens? And I said, yes, why does it happen? He says, that is because you guys are taught to think differently. When there are 40 people in your class, each one of you is expected to come out with a different design solution for a project. Similarly, even in management, when there are problems, multiple problems, you expect people to think out of the box and come out with multiple solutions. And that is why we are better suited for many other disciplines, because our grounding is strong, because we are taught to think, or we are expected to be taught to think. I would put it like that. Does that answer your question?
He wants a mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It does.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Any other the same? Anybody would like to ask? Yes, one student here.
I wanted to ask the question to Vidyadhar Phatak sir. As you mentioned in your lecture that only 15% of the actual TP plan is executed. So how do you keep a track on what development is happening around a city after you envisioned a TP plan? And what are the studies or survey that you do for drafting a TP plan?
That could be a topic for another lecture, but nevertheless, see, the master plans are done according to the statutory provisions. And unfortunately, those are done without understanding how the markets function. So if you look at a typical master plan report, there will be hardly anything on the incomes of the people. So if you don't know the incomes of people, how do you plan for affordable housing? Then you don't know what are the prices prevailing for land and properties in the city. If you don't know that, how can you do a realistic plan? You don't know what are the finances of the city and what can it do in terms of implementation of the plan. You don't know that because that is not typically seen as a way of planning the city. Because cities are being planned according to manuals. There is that so-called UD, CPR, etc., etc. Now, if you want to plan according to that, you will come out with a plan which is unimplementable. And that is the story of planning in India. That is why I was strongly recommending that book, which has a tagline says that the market shaped the cities. And if you don't understand that, it does not mean that you don't plan and leave it to the market. That will be a disaster. But without understanding the market, if you plan the city, then you will not get the plan implemented.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Even student.
Hi, sir. I have a question for architect Pathak only. I'll call you an architect. I have some practice going on around Karzat. And recently I've been coming across people saying that MMRDA is going to take over these areas, the bylaws are going to change, it's all going to get applied as per the new norms. Now, I've also heard what happens in most of the other countries, that when a new rule at a DP level or a new rule is employed at a larger scale, there is a cohesive society involvement. So can we encourage society involvement when a new DP rules is going to be employed? So that there is some team building and there is, my question came because in Karzat, when this new DP is being employed and there's not of upgradation of the urban areas that's going to happen in Karzat and around, there's a lot of mischief that has started happening. People are taking the rule into a different way and trying to extort and trying to create means of how they can take out some rent, as you said. Now, if this would have been a cohesive, for example, I've heard that in Western countries, if a public building is going to come up in a certain area, they ask the local society or the people who are going to be stakeholders or users to get involved and give their inputs, which becomes a part of the norms also. So it becomes a more success rate in a better way of getting it executed. Is that a way that we can look at from MMRDA coming out to the people at a local level?
We have time for 2 more questions.
I'm not fully aware of what is currently happening in Karzat because I retired from MMRDA in 2004. So what is happening locally in Karzat, I'm not aware of. But what you are saying is right, and that is what is really conceived even in our constitution, that the constitution does not recognize MMRDA type of organization. Constitution talks about the local government and local government to be in charge of what is happening in their area. Now that needs to be practiced. So if there is a municipal council in Karzat, the councillors must exercise their powers which are given by the constitution. That is not happening. The awareness is a problem. And then if the locally elected representatives are aware of the responsibilities and the powers which the constitution has granted them through the 74th amendment, that is in 1992, it's 32 years now. But if that awareness is not there, then how do you get the kind of things that you are talking about?
Okay. So the question is actually that how does one person bring that awareness?
No, I think it's a process. The process is the elected representatives, if they are not worried about what is happening in their area, what will you do?
Correct. So we can continue that over lunch later. Any questions? Yes, here, student. You have the mic.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Hashu Advani. I am a 5th year student and I have a question for Vidyadhar Phatak, sir. Generally, the development plan talks about physical aspects of the city. Do you think that intangible aspects such as livability index or maybe health and well-being could be addressed in those plans for an Indian context?
Development plan, which is a statutory plan, is concerned with the development as defined in that law, which is the physical manifestation of development. Development, otherwise you would think of economic growth that is inclusive, which is environmentally sustainable, which is responsive to climate change and all those kind of things. But the way the Act has conceived development plan is rather limited in scope. But the problem is that development plan is the only plan which is put into public domain. There are many other plans. BMC has a plan for stormwater drainage. That is not put in public domain, so you don't know what stormwater drainage is. So everybody thinks that development plan should do everything. And then it becomes the target of criticism. Whereas one has to recognize, and that is what I think one of your panels in the exhibition is talking about, that you don't really have comprehensive planning. To talk about comprehensive planning in today's context is a myth. It does not happen. So there are multiple plans which are in operation. And then who coordinates those? There is a big problem. Even planners are not planners. The way every planning institution teaches planning is urban planning, housing, environment, transport. So each of those people come out with their own language which one another does not understand. So if planning profession itself is not comprehensive, how will you ever get comprehensive plans? That's the problem. And that's going to be the case. So how do you steer through all those things? That is a question which has not yet been addressed. So we don't really have the so-called comprehensive, holistic, integrated planning in operation. Now similarly you will say that why can't the development plan be concerned with the human development, education and health? Why not? But who knows amongst planners how to manage education or health? So it's not practical to expect that everybody will do everything else. That is not the case.
Understood. Thank you very much.
But whether planners can produce land for streets, parks, and schools and hospitals, yes. That is the job of the planners.
Correct. Yes, last question.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Dhruv this side. I'm from 5th year, and first of all, the session that we had currently was really enlightening. And my question was that the development plan and the building norms, they helps to define and mold the building as in the character of the city. So for a city like Ahmedabad or Mumbai, Jaipur, which already has a strong architectural character or which has a strong identity in itself, how could development plan have that sensitivity that that architectural character is still retained? And how could that be done at a planner level thinking, as in I was thinking about that. So it would be great if you share some light.
Can I just, Phatak sir, can I just answer? I think if you read the book, he's very clearly mentioned development control regulations are basically for health hygiene, not character. But there is a second step which we tried to take when we were working on the Greater Mumbai Development Plan, that you go down to the local area and you have area for comprehensive development, where you look at these enclaves. And I think if you read the book, you'll get a clear picture about from the individual to the scale of the region, because there's a chapter on walking in the city also.
Now the first thing is that you must ask a question, how is that character first created? Was it created out of a comprehensive plan, or was it a creation of many other things? If you think Mumbai Chawls is a character, now how did it come about? That you must, and whether you want to recreate that. You will not be. Nobody will like to go and stay in a chawl. So things are going to change. I think this notion that planners need to conserve the architecture in a city to a limited extent is valid. But you can't extend it to large scale. Like for example, there were sort of these single screen cinemas. They should be preserved. Why should they be preserved? If nobody wants to go and see the cinema, why should you preserve that? So I think the idea of the built form and built structure needs to be conserved in the city, should be taken with a pinch of salt. It can't be extended to a large scale. Because the circumstances which have led to that form are no longer valid. Then you can't force them to be there in terms of conservation of those things. And putting that burden on a planner to write regulation is absolutely useless. That will never happen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So,
no, it's very interesting that the first question and the last question are connected in many ways.
yeah, and they're good questions actually. They're very relevant questions. And coming from you, I see that next year give the PGETA. Okay? One last question she has. You have to stand up and take the mic and bulldoze your way into asking the question. You can't wait for others to ask and then say, I want to say so.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. I am Hosanna here. I read the chapter from your book on Indian urbanization. The chapter is COHI planning. And my question is, how can cities leverage big data and artificial intelligence to improve the effectiveness of COHI planning? And how can even we students, integrate COHI planning in our designs? Thank you.
No, I think one of the reasons why COHI is not possible, I have identified, is the lack of data in a granular form. For example, we talked about economic growth, but there is no estimation of GDP of a city. So you don't know what is the economic productivity of a city. Similarly, you do not have, now if that estimate is not done by anybody, then big data can't extract it. So big data can get the data that you want that is available somewhere and then put it together for your use. So big data has a utility, and particularly the utility where the granular data is available for small areas, etc. Now, today's situation is such that if you asked Bombay Municipal Corporation, how many houses did you permit last year and of what sizes? You will not get a quick answer because that analyzed data is no longer there. So once that data starts getting generated, then big data will put it all together. So that's the problem. So one has to start with the basic in terms of, that is why I was calling that we must get to evidence-based planning and not axiomatic planning.
Absolutely.
So once you get to evidence-based planning, these things will start falling in place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. I now request Principal Dr. Anand Achari to give the vote of thanks and take over from now.
Just short. Sure. Just before that,
I think I don't want to be a wall between the food which is asking for. I'm the wall. So just may I request our President, Council of Architecture, Shri Abhay Purohit sir, to just come on stage. This is our students from SEM 6, semester 6, third year, part 1 ending, and semester 10, part 2 ending. They are the toppers at the university level, and we take this opportunity, nothing better than this situation, to felicitate them. And please, can I call upon all the SEM 6, Afzal Ansari, semester 6, topper at first rank at University of Mumbai. Excellent, Afzal. CGPI 9.71. Disha Kamli, fourth rank at University of Mumbai. CGPI 9.6. Arya Diwan, sixth rank at University of Mumbai and third in college, 9.56. Congrats. Congrats. Great. Bless you. Yeah, we'll call back. Come on this side. Semester 10, Lavanya Guram, fifth rank at University of Mumbai, CGPI 9.66. Anushka Deshpande, 19th rank at University of Mumbai and second at VESCOA, 9.36 CGPI. Congrats. Aditya Bhave, 26th rank at University of Mumbai and third at VESCO, CGPI 9.25. Can we have all the students? We'll just take a group. Statues.
Thank you. All the very best.
The last program, vote of thanks, it is beyond the content also what our ancestors taught, the customs of being gratitude to our elders, and thank you to everyone that cannot stop. So we are really in-depth thankful to our VES management, Shri Suresh Malkani sir, President VES, Shri Gyani sir, Secretary VES, and Prakash Lula sir, Treasurer VES, to give us full support towards hosting this event. Thanks to Dr. Nair Madam to allow us to host this event in the auditorium. Thank you, Professor Purohit sir, Abhay Purohit sir, President Council, for accepting this invitation and gracing us and guiding us. Thank you. We were thankful to Rajiv Mishra sir, who could come and grace us with his guidance. Our guest of honor and keynote speaker, Vidyadhar Phatak ji, sir, we are really thankful and grateful that you accepted this and you came us this and gave this guidance to the students, to the teachers and the entire fraternity. Hope there are people, huge list. We have tried to share this entire documentary live at IA platforms, and hope many architects would be also listening to this and planners would be listening to this. I thank the special invitees, sir, Architect Vijay Soni sir and Milind Kolegal sir. Thank you for accepting it. Thanks entire all the governing body members, Madhav Devbak sir, Meera Devbak madam, Akhtar sir, Anil Agrat sir and Harshad Bhatia for gracing us, blessing us and guiding us continuously and taking these kind of programs to a next level and to a more deeper in depth to be discussed. So, thanks to all the faculty members because of which this event could be hosted, who curated and organized and perfectly made sure that things goes correct. Professor Harshad Bhatia, Design Chair, thank you. Professor Mandar Dhuri, Associate Professor Badrisha Shah, Associate Professor Divya Butala, Ajit Nirmal, Head of Department for Diploma in Architecture, Saurabh Chaudhary, Head of Department for Diploma in Interiors, Associate Professor Samruddhi Falak, Associate Professor Abhishek Kadam, Associate Professor Ashima Srivastava. Thanks to all, and in all the other faculties background, there were many people who played a big role in making sure that this event happens. Thanks to each and everyone. Also, this event with the strong support of the administrative staff headed by Roshni More, our OS, Archana Kadam, our librarian, and the entire class 4, Jayendra, Vinesh and Daya, they have supported this strongly and helped us in every organizing system. So on behalf of VESCO, I extend my heartful gratitude to each and every one for all the principals who have attended this, who took time from their daily schedule. I know how difficult it is from the schedule to come out and be part of this event. And thanks for coming here and for attending this second Hashu Advani Memorial Lectures. We conclude this session at this right now, and let us carry forward this aim towards sharing knowledge and sharing insights collectively. And this is why I have requested all, and through IIA, through MASA, member of Maharashtra Association of Schools of Architecture, Council of Architecture, collaborations is the only future. Collectively we can do a lot of change, but dividedly we will not be able to move ahead. So I request all colleges of architecture, Council, Indian Institute of Architects, the professions to come together, take sure that these issues are deeply addressed for a sustainable, creating a sustainable human habitat. That's what the vision of VESCO is, which has given us a strong spirit. My guru, who has also been Professor Akhtar Chauhan, who has put this fire inside me and told this is to how to take it ahead. Thank you, sir, for guiding us. And Madhav Devbak, who initiated this, that we should start this memorial series. Meera Devbak continuously rectifying me wherever I am going wrong. So thank you for guiding. Thank you once again to everyone who was involved in making this lecture series a resounding success. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskar. We would conclude the event with the national anthem. Please raise up to
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उच्चल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे भारत माता की वंदे वंदे थैंक यू We'll request all the guests to join us for lunch, please. And a group photo here, please, on the dais.
For the group photo first, sir. All the principals, please, guests, there's a lunch in the first floor. Please join for the lunch at the first floor. Faculty and other...